Nah, what Taco Bell was last week, and the week before that, and I think the week before that. Man, just put all your stuff out on one day. Every other place just puts out their stuff on the same day. No issue. But nope, Taco Bell gotta be different. They gotta put out something new every fucking week. They brought back their nuggets this week as well. I actually don't have any food stuff this week. For the first time since, January, I have no food things. I don't know if next week will be different. I don't know, at some point the Shamrock Shake's coming back. But yeah, I got no food things this week. We actually have we got a pretty small WIBE. Most of the stuff is in the gaming news section. A lot of Nintendo things. Last week our big thing was Xbox. This week it's just a lot of Nintendo stuff. 2 Nintendo Directs. Nintendo Direct predictions for next week, which have grown even more complicated. And just like the past 24 hours, I didn't even put that on here. I gotta put that on here, speaking of which. Part presents. Do I have Mario Kart DLC on here? No, I don't. Let me put Mario Kart DLC on here. Alright. I'll keep thinking of Nintendo Direct stuff when we get there. So we're going to boot up Pikmin. I'm loading into the game right now. We were in Serene Shores, so we're continuing off from there. And everything should be, hunky-dory. Hopefully. Alright, here we are, back again. We're just jumping right back into it. So, for the show today, we've got... Gaming news-wise, we have a bunch of Nintendo stuff. We've got the Super Mario Galaxy movie, had its direct, which technically I did react to that live, and I know we talked about it during Animal Crossing, but I put it on here anyways. We'll go over it real quick. We got a trailer for the Virtual Boy. Finally, we got some updates on the Virtual Boy stuff, so I want to talk about that. There's been a whole controversy with Dispatch this week, which originally started off as a Boo Nintendo story, but has actually, at least in my opinion, shifted to be a Boo ad hoc story. Somehow the developers of the game have come out the bad guys in this situation. So I want to talk about that. Literally, we just got an update 2 hours ago. So this story is definitely still ongoing, but I thought I'd talk about it anyways. Mainly because I did pick up Dispatch on the Nintendo Switch 2. I was very excited to play it on the Nintendo Switch 2. And while I have not refunded it like other people have, it is definitely disappointing to say the least. We've got Tomodachi Life had their direct, which I also did watch live, but we'll talk about it anyways. I've seen the Tomodachi direct 4 times now. Between watching, the British version, I didn't watch the Japanese version, but I got the gist. And then watching just, different YouTubers, Arlo, Venny Vinesauce. I've seen it a bunch. And finally, there's a lot of rumors going around this week about a Nintendo Direct, and I do very much believe a lot of those rumors. So, of course, I do want to talk about them. So we will talk about them. They have gotten a little bit more complicated in the past 24 hours, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. And yeah, that should more or less be it. We don't have much to do in Serene Shores. We have to fight the 2 guys. The 2 challenges, the Dandori challenges. And then I think we're missing a dungeon. I want to say we've done 3 dungeons here, but I think there's a 4th one. I just don't remember where. You know, I know the speed run. I don't remember where the 4th dungeon is. So I think we're going to have to find that. But we'll figure it out. Also, I drink up this water so fast. Man, do I love water. Alright, let's talk about the Super Mario Galaxy movie. So, we got the new trailer for the Mario Galaxy movie just randomly one Sunday. I think the reason why we got it when we did was because later that day was the AFC and NFC football games. I think it's AFC and NFC. I could totally be wrong about that. I don't know football. But those games were later that day. And I know both of these trailers played during those games. So that's my guess, is Nintendo put out these trailers, especially because they want a trailer to play at the Super Bowl. We know the Super Bowl is in what, like 2 weeks? So my guess is they wanted a trailer before the Super Bowl, and that's why they did it. I just think it makes sense. I think that's a very logical solution. So that's my guess as to why they did it when they did. Because normally Nintendo does trailers for like CinemaCon and whatnot. But as far as I know, there wasn't like a CinemaCon or anything like that this week. So they just randomly dropped it. But, you know, getting stuff out before the Super Bowl makes sense. I'm going to guess they're going to have a new trailer for the Super Bowl. If I had to guess. I don't know. Supposedly we're going to get like a bunch of trailers during the Super Bowl. Spider-Man. Avengers. Maybe Supergirl. Maybe Doomsday. I'm not entirely sure. So what was in this trailer? So this trailer for the new Mario Galaxy movie is kind of weird because it very much feels like a Super Mario World trailer. There are very few scenes in this trailer that feel like Galaxy. Everything kind of feels like it's Super Mario World. So there was a rumor a long time ago. Actually, it wasn't even a rumor. This came directly from Universal Studios, the parent company of Illumination. That was the leaked name of the Mario movie, was Super Mario World. And so I've seen some people speculate that maybe the second Mario movie was originally Super Mario World, and then at some point Nintendo or Illumination like shifted it to make it a Super Mario Galaxy movie. And while I'm not much of a conspiracy theorist, it really does feel like this movie's doing a lot. In fact, maybe this is doing too much. Now, that's not entirely a bad thing. I know the first movie kind of got some criticism for doing a lot and explaining very little. I was really hoping the second one was gonna fix some of those issues. It seems like they kind of are, maybe, potentially. I don't know, if they focus up more on, you know, Mario and Luigi, now Yoshi, so it's Mario, Luigi, Yoshi, Toad. They're going on a quest. Bowser Jr. has, you know, kidnapped the galaxy, or, you know, he's trying to, like, restart the galaxy. Supposedly there's, like, a thing with like tiny Bowser in this. Like, Bowser's gonna be less of an antagonist in this one, and it's more Bowser Jr. is the antagonist. At least that's what it kind of seems like. I don't know, I'm not entirely sure on that one, but I've got some safe predictions to make. I think the scene we see at the start of this trailer with Mario and Luigi, they're coming to this desert temple. This is the opening scene of the movie. The movie starts with the scene from the last trailer of Rosalina reading her storybook to the Lumas, and the Lumas are like, plumbers, plumbers. So she tells them a story about the plumbers. which is the desert temple thing. It's their first time meeting Yoshi. You know, he joins the squad. And then from there, we get the scene in the desert. And it goes to like a man and his dog kind of montage. Where it's Mario, Luigi, and Yoshi all kind of hanging out, having their excellent adventure. And it's a montage music. This is where we get the scene, like them jumping on the clouds. All that comes from this scene. I think there's going to be a whole montage, and then eventually it ends with them going to the Star Festival, and then, you know, the whole plot of Galaxy kicks off. Bowser Jr. shows up, kidnaps his dad, and then I think Bowser Jr. is going to, like, use magic or something, or maybe he'll get Kamek to do it. But somehow the scene is going to, the whole Bowser Jr. fighting Mario and Luigi, that scene is going to end with Bowser Jr. turning Mario and Luigi into babies. From there, that's where we get the Yoshi Safari scene, where Yoshi has the two, you know, Yoshi and Toad has the two babies. That's my prediction. And I'm gonna guess that's like the first, like, I don't know, 20, 30, let's say 20-ish minutes of the movie. Meanwhile, Peach heads off to space. We see the whole casino scene. And the casino very much seems to be inspired by Mario Bros. 2. So we have, you know, we have Birdo there. We have Mauser there. We have Claw Grip, who was a boss in Super Mario Bros. 2. We potentially will have Wart. I would not at all be surprised if Wart makes a cameo in this. But yeah, it looks like this is a Super Mario Bros. 2 inspired casino. Which, to be fair, I think is a great idea. Super Mario Bros. 2 inspired casino? That sounds like a lot of fun to me. Might just be me, but I think that sounds like a lot of fun. I'm totally on board with Super Mario Bros. 2 Casino. Oh, the other scene that'll appear in the montage is the frog suit. I'm gonna guess, like, there's gonna be, like, a montage of, you know, Mario, Luigi, and Yoshi just saving a bunch of toads. And that frog suit scene's gonna be in there. Them, like, avoiding Lakitu up in the clouds. All that's gonna be in there. And then, you know, from montage, Peach is off. Peach and one of the Toads are off on their own. Maybe our Captain Toad. I don't know, because we see a Toad holding the babies. But is that the Toad from the first movie? The Captain Toad from the first movie? I'm not entirely sure. And then, you know, all the Rosalina stuff gets introduced. They go off into space, Comet Observatory. Bowser is, you know, dark matter, Bowser Jr. dark matter generator. I don't know. I worry this movie is doing too much. But from what I do see, I am very interested in a lot of it. This movie does look very fun. I am very excited for it. But yes, I do have concerns. I am not the only one who has concerns. A lot of these concerns seem very valid to a lot of people. And yeah, this trailer just didn't really feel like Galaxy. It felt like Super Mario World. And if they had made Super Mario World, I would have been fine with that. I think Super Mario World is a very logical conclusion from where the last one ended off. And then do Galaxy as your third movie. Yeah, do Galaxy as 3. I don't think anyone would complain if you did Galaxy as 3. At least I wouldn't. That's kind of what I originally predicted. But no, this all looks good. You know, fans loved the first Mario movie. It was filled with love for the franchise, even if there was the occasional bit of licensed music. I think this new one is gonna do the same. It's scaling that up to 11. It looks to be filled with fan service. Am I worried that there's going to be a bunch of licensed music and whatnot? Of course, why wouldn't I be? But from what we've seen so far, I am mostly impressed. I think it all looks very good. I am very excited to see whatever comes of this. But whatever the next trailer is going to be, I want to see more Galaxy. I want to see more Galaxy in your Galaxy movie. Please and thank you, Nintendo. I mean, the movie comes out in April. And they pushed up the release date. The original release date was Thursday, April 2nd or, Friday, April 3rd, whatever it was. Now it's April 1st. My guess is, because that is Easter weekend, they pushed it up because of Easter weekend. That's it. That's my only guess. But I think that's more or less logical. We were just a few seconds away from perfecting that. Whatever. Hey, our eyes match. So next up, let's talk about Virtual Boy. So the Nintendo Switch Virtual Boy comes out next month. I think it comes out on like the 17th. I didn't write down the release date, but I think it's like the 17th. And so we kind of got an overview trailer. Basically, they revealed the games at launch, the games coming later, and everything else along those lines. So give me a second, I just wrote games coming now and games coming later. I didn't actually write down what those were. Oops-a-daisy, I guess I just forgot. Come on. Okay, so at launch, the Virtual Boy Virtual Console is going to have Galactic Pinball, 3D Tetris, Telro Boxer, Virtual Wario Land, The Mansions of Innsmouth, Golf, and Red Alarm. So that's 7 games. And then there are more coming in the future. Mario Clash, Mario Tennis, Jack Bros, Space Invaders Virtual Collection, Virtual Bowling, Virtual Force, and V-Tetris. That right there is every Virtual Boy game. As far as I'm aware, there are not that many Virtual Boy games. The only difference is that originally, I want to say Virtual Bowling, at least in the States, was called Nestor's Funky Bowling, named after the Nintendo Power character Nestor. So it's kind of weird that they've removed all the Nestor stuff from it. Maybe, and that might be like a Japanese thing, that in Japan it was just called Virtual Bowling, but in America they made it Nestor's Funky Bowling. I don't know all the details. I don't know the history. Go ask the Brawl in the Family guy. When I think of Nintendo Power and whatnot, he's the guy I think of. So, those are all the games I expected. But, much like when Nintendo re-released the NES Classic, there's a twist. Because they are releasing 2 unreleased Virtual Boy games. So these were the Virtual Boy is historically one of Nintendo's biggest failures. Like, that's kind of, like, I see a lot of people clowning on this Virtual Boy Nintendo Classic Collection as like, oh, why is Nintendo re-releasing this? This is just Nintendo reminding us of their biggest failure during their second biggest failure, the Switch 2, as if the Switch 2 is failing. Like, I know a lot of these people are just grifters, but still. It's crazy that people are mad at Nintendo for re-releasing Virtual Boy, and yet bitch and moan about things like game cards, when this is literally Nintendo doing game preservation. Like, that's what this is. I know you can't, like, directly, like, download the games, like, buy them. Guess what? This is still game preservation. These are games being preserved. And, yes, you could always get a lot of these, just through other means. But yeah, so we're getting 2 new unreleased games, which I think is fantastic. I think it's great that we're getting 2 new unreleased games. And those 2 games are Zero Racers and D-Hoppers. So I'm going to start with D-Hoppers. D-Hoppers reminds me very much of Jumping Flash. If you've never played it, Jumping Flash is a game I've actually played. It's a PS1 game that is basically the PS1's attempt to make a, like, 3D platformer. This is before Crash Bandicoot, before Spyro, before anything like that. This is, like, for launch day PS1. And I honestly think Jumping Flash is a little bit underrated. I'm not going to say it's like a masterpiece. I'm not going to say Jumping Flash like super holds up or anything like that. But I have fond memories of Jumping Flash. I don't think it's actually that bad. So that's very much what D-Hoppers reminds me of. The other one, Zero Racers, is more interesting because this was an F-Zero spin-off. You know, right, it's maximum velocity racing, but it adds in a third dimension. Or I guess a second dimension. Basically, whereas in F-Zero, right, you're going left to right, and this you go left and right, but you can also go up or down as you're racing against enemies, trying to avoid opponents. It's F-Zero, but within 3D. You know, you're dealing with more 3 dimensions. I think that's very interesting. I think that is a really interesting change. Because, you know, Nintendo famously said, like, oh yeah, you know, the reason we never made any more F-Zero games is because we just didn't have any ideas. You know, the series, we did everything we wanted to do. We couldn't think of anything else. This clearly shows that, no, they had another idea. There is a part of me that thinks this game might be total garbage. That, you know, it was unreleased besides for the Virtual Boy just completely failing. It might not actually be that good of a game. And that, yeah, Nintendo never revisited this for a reason. But no, I am overall very happy that these 2 games are coming out. You know, what's next? Are we going to finally see whatever the hell Project Steel was? You know, are they going to show us some beta stuff from Metroid, the original Game Boy Metroid Dread? There are so many possibilities here. And yeah, I love when Nintendo does shit like this. I loved Star Fox 2, say what you will about it. I love the fact that they released it. Sure, it had leaked online years before. But just the fact that we have it at all is cool. Same thing when they did Fire Emblem. Right, the original Fire Emblem never released in North America. So for the, 25th, 30th, for one of Fire Emblem's anniversaries, they actually translated the original Fire Emblem into English. Sure, did they only sell it for like a year and now you can't purchase it anymore? Yes, because Nintendo is still a fucking goofy... You know, Nintendo is a clown world company that makes WND some of the stupidest fucking decisions ever. But they at least did it. You know, it's cool that they did it. We have an official translation. People, of course, got that ROM. And yeah, it gives me more... The more that Nintendo does shit like this, the more hope I get that they will continue to do stuff like this. You know, the more stuff like this happens, the more likely it is that we see Mother 3. Because that's all Mother 3 needs to be, is a translation patch. I know Nintendo would never actually do that, because there are some changes that kind of need to be made for that game. But get Toby Fox to do it. I trust him. I trust Toby Fox more than anybody to handle Mother 3. But no, Deltarune tomorrow. So, of course, there are other things in the Virtual Boy. And we just know all those other games coming later and the unreleased ones, those will be coming at some point in 2026. So I do think Nintendo should have just dropped the whole category at once. Because, like, who the fuck's going to be coming back for Virtual Boy? At the same time, I would rather have it, you know, all this year. than for, you know, it to be like what's going on with GameCube, where they're staggering it over however long. There are still SNES games that have not released. Like, I don't even know if we have, like, oh god, I don't think Super Mario RPG. We might not have Super Mario RPG, but there's like a lot of classic games that for some reason we just straight up don't have. And I don't know why. I know N64 is the same way. Like, we're still missing Super Smash Bros. We're still missing Donkey Kong 64. There's a lot of stuff that's just missing, that for some reason Nintendo likes to take their sweet ass time. I don't even know if they have Urban fucking Champion. Like, legitimately, I don't know if Nintendo Switch Online added Urban fucking Champion, which is one of those, like, historically, like, bad games. I'm gonna look it up. Arcade Archives Urban Champion. Yeah, you can get the Arcade Archive, but I don't see it on Nintendo Switch Online. Okay, no, it is on Nintendo Switch. It came out in 2024. That's crazy. Like, I think the NES Virtual Console, you know, the NES Classics, came out in, what, 2018? It took them 6 years to add Urban fucking Champion. A piece of shit game that nobody should remember, but should still be there anyways. They're just bad with rollouts. That's what it all comes down to, is they're just bad at rolling out games. But, like, what you gonna do? So, with all that, of course, the Virtual Console will have a rewind feature. So, you know, if you want to rewind your games, because, you know, they're fucking Virtual Boy. They're adding, you can change controls. So, you know, if you've never seen a Virtual Boy controller, it's not the worst Nintendo controller they've ever made, but it's also definitely not the best. It's a very weird Nintendo controller for some very weird Nintendo decisions. And then the final thing, which is not going to be at launch, but will come later down the line. And why this isn't at launch, I have no idea. If you had asked me, like, oh, re-release Virtual Boy, the first thing I would have done is suggest this feature. They're going to, in the future, be adding the ability to change the colors. Because if you've ever seen Virtual Boy games, they're black and red. And, you know, I've never played Virtual Boy. I will fully admit I've never actually played Virtual Boy. But, according to people at the time, the games gave you headaches. The black and red caused a lot of headaches, along with using this weird, like, headset. It caused issues. And so the first thing I would have changed is the black and red. You know, make it so that way, you know, you have that as less of an issue. But clearly that wasn't Nintendo's priority. They did think about it, like that was definitely an idea, but it was, you know, for something later on down the line. The other thing that I'm surprised isn't here is, so in order to play these Virtual Boy games, you need to buy the accessory. You can either buy, like, a full-on Virtual Boy, like, replica, which is $99, or you can buy, like, a Virtual Boy cardboard for, I want to say, like, $20? I think $20. It's like $20-$30. That sounds right. I'm gonna look it up right now. $25. That's actually not that bad. But clearly, you know, we're watching trailers for these Virtual Boy games. Clearly, these things can be played on a 2D screen. We do not have to exclusively have the Virtual Boy. So it just begs the question, why isn't there also just a 2D mode? I know part of it is that Nintendo wants to just sell the accessory, that they made this, you know, $99 Virtual Boy accessory. They want people to buy it. the car, you know, and if people aren't going to spend the $99, they'll at least buy the cardboard one. I get that. I totally understand that. I do not think it's the right move, but it is very much a Nintendo move. But just give us the ability to play them without. Like, I don't need that Virtual Boy 3D effect. That's not that big of a deal for me. These games, again, they're in black and red. Being able to, and like, you cannot play these games docked. Let me play these games docked to Nintendo. I'm not going to say that would fix everything, but it at least should be an option. So I do hope that when the final games release, when, you know, everything is said and done, they do actually add a mode that just lets you play the games as if they're just like normal, as if they came out on like a Game Boy or something. That should definitely be a thing. Knowing Nintendo, it probably won't be, but literally anything is possible. And I'm out of water. So yeah, overall, will I actually play this Virtual Boy shit? I'll try it out. I mean, the games, you know, accessory aside, you can just download the app. I do believe these deserve to exist. I will check it out, but I won't do anything more than that. I'll check it out once, and that's it, because it's fucking Virtual Boy. But I 100% believe this deserves to exist. I'm glad it exists, but I wish they had made it a little bit more accessible. And, you know, the color changing thing would be huge. Like, that'd be huge, Nintendo. That color change is definitely needed. Because some of these, you know, footage I've seen. Okay, we lost a few things there, but I think we're overall fine. Our next story is about Dispatch. So, if you do not know, Dispatch is a game made by the studio Ad Hoc. They're a new developer. Previously, I think it's people who worked at Telltale and other studios. You know, they went out, they founded their own development studio. Big success story. Dispatch is a very loved game last year. It won a few awards. I don't know if it won a game award, but it was, you know, it won a few other awards. It won a Kinda Funny award, so that's good. That's kind of funny is what put this game on my radar. Is they talked very highly about this one. And so when they announced it was coming to Switch 2, I was like, oh yeah, I'm interested. I'll pick it up on Switch 2. Sure, I do have a PlayStation, but the Switch is my primary console. So I was like, yeah, I'll pick it up. Why not? And then, I actually pre-ordered it. I pre-ordered it like a week ago because there's a thing that happens a lot on Switch where if you pre-order a game, you can get it for like 10% off. And sure, that's not like huge savings, but I knew I was going to pick it up anyways. So I was like, yeah, I guess I'll pre-order it anyways. Like, I might as well get that little, like, 10% discount. Only for the game to come out and it be revealed that the game is censored. That on Nintendo platforms, they have censored the games. I can't go over every example, obviously. I haven't played the game either. But some of the things is, like, I guess there are scenes with, like, nudity, even if it's just, like, partial nudity. And those have been covered up with, like, black censor bars. They censored all, like, swearing. So, like, there are curses that just aren't in the game. I guess there's a whole scene where someone has, like, a sex dream or something along those lines. I know something happens with Invisigal. And I guess they, like, completely muted that scene. And so, yeah, those are just some of the changes, and people are not happy. Obviously, you know, nobody wants a censored game. My take on it is always, I guess, in the PlayStation, Xbox, and PC versions of this game, these censors exist in those versions as well, but you have to turn them on in the settings. You have to go in the settings and turn it on. And that's how you do censorship. You don't censor a piece of media, but you let people self-censor. And you give trigger warnings. I am very anti-censorship, and instead believe in trigger warnings and self-censorship. That's the way you do it. And so yeah, I seeing this as like something that, again, was optional in other versions. And like, if on the Nintendo version, it had also been optional, but by default it was turned on. So like, you had to go into the settings and turn it off. I would have been perfectly fine with that. I think that would have been a fine, like, oh yeah, the sensor's there, but you can just go in the settings and turn it off. That's what this should have been. That's how this should have worked. But instead, nope, there is no way to turn off the sensors. It is permanently on, and there's nothing you can do about it. And that sucks. Of course, the developers, you know, the other thing is, there was no, like, build-up to this. It was just, hey, the game is out, and then, like, people who were, you know, reviewing the game, YouTubers, they were the ones who were telling the public, like, hey, be aware, guys, the game is censored. And so that's when all this information came out. I guess in the statement Ad Hoc posted earlier today, they did say that they did put a disclaimer in there, but instead of being in like the game settings, the disclaimer was put into like its own disclaimer setting, and people just didn't see it because it was at like the very bottom of the page. So they went in and they have updated the page to, you know, make that disclaimer more obvious. But still, of course, Ad Hoc defends all of this and is like, well, you know, some scenes are censored. At the end of the day, the core narrative and gameplay experiences are identical. I would disagree. I would say they are similar, but by just the nature of censorship, that in and of itself is a statement. You are making changes. But yeah, and basically, according to the statement, they say the reason why they did these censorships is because different platforms have different content criteria. So, you know, what goes on Valve, Steam, what goes on Xbox, what goes on PlayStation is not the same as what goes on Nintendo. So that was the reason they said they did this. And at first, when this story came out, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. You know, Nintendo has censored games in the past. You know, they specifically said, Ad Hoc said, that we worked with Nintendo to ensure the content within the title met the criteria to release on their platforms, but the core narrative and gameplay experience remains identical to the original release. And yeah, Nintendo censors games all the time. I was totally like, oh, fuck Nintendo. Right, this is like, again, I don't like those Nintendo grifters. Nintendine might be the worst person on the internet at the moment. At least from my like, he's not the worst person, but he's the most annoying, and like, fuck him. He can go fucking shove an iron dildo up his ass, for all I care. Fuck that guy. But yeah, when this story came out, I was like, yeah, fuck Nintendo, fuck this. And then we started getting more developments. And all of a sudden it became clear, oh wait, Nintendo isn't the bad guy. This might be Ad Hoc blaming Nintendo for something they did. Because immediately once these censorship things came out, people started pointing out, like, hey, Cyberpunk was one of the Switch 2's launch titles. Nintendo plastered Cyberpunk everywhere. And within the first, like, minute or two of that game, you can see dick and balls, you can see a vag. Like, they had it all in that game. And Nintendo didn't censor it at all. Same thing with other games, like The Witcher. The Witcher 3 also has nudity. That game is not censored at all. There are a lot of other examples of games that just straight up were not censored. So, like, why did Nintendo choose to censor Dispatch and not Cyberpunk, not The Witcher? Unless there's something else going on here. Now, also, the other thing people brought up is the hentai games. If you go on the eShop, literally boot up the eShop, it'll take you, like, Well, okay, with eShop lag, it'll take you a little bit, but you will very quickly find a game with hentai in the title. Now, as people have pointed out, people who have actually downloaded some of those hentai games, just because they say hentai in the title does not mean their content features hentai. They just use it as like a clickbait title or, an AI title. The hentai games actually rarely actually have hentai in them. If not, they never do. But still, they're using hentai in the title. They're very much, they know what they're doing. Another game, Doki Doki Literature Club, also released on Switch uncensored. You know where it didn't release uncensored? PlayStation. Doki Doki Literature Club is censored on PlayStation, but not on Switch. So, like, you could make the argument that, like, oh, well, Cyberpunk, that's CD Projekt Red. That's a major developer. No, Nintendo also left out censors for indie games. I know Doki Doki Literature Club is doing different things, but still. Now, that does not mean Nintendo is without censorship. I want to say the Hyperdimensional Neptuna games have been censored on Switch. Some of them have not been allowed to release on Switch. So, like, with some of these anime games, they have done some censorship. And that's even in the past, like, year or two. Like, that's some recent stuff. But, yeah, things kind of aren't adding up for Dispatch. And so, originally, people reached out to Nintendo. And through Nintendo support, they kind of gave this, like, vague statement that was like, oh, well, Nintendo works on these games. They work with publishers. At the end of the day, it is up to the publishers to decide what goes into the game. And we at Nintendo just make sure that, the content is appropriate for the region they're publishing in. So Nintendo kind of gave this, like, unofficial statement that, no, this was not their fault. That, this might be an ad hoc thing. And that was until today, in which Nintendo did straight up put out an official statement. My guess as to why Nintendo put out an official statement is because a lot of people are refunding this game. Because they consider, false advertising, the game didn't say it was censored, that people thought like, oh, well, this is false advertising, you should give me a refund. And Nintendo has given out seemingly a lot of refunds. So eventually they felt it pertinent to put out an official statement. And the statement reads, Nintendo requires all games on its platforms to receive ratings from independent organizations and to meet our established content and platform guidelines. While we inform partners when their titles do not meet our guidelines, Nintendo does not make changes to partners' contents. We also do not discuss specific content or the criteria used in making these determinations. So I interpret that as, yes, Nintendo will help you meet, when they say independent organizations and content and platform guidelines, they're talking about stuff like the ESRB, the CER, is it the CERO? What's the European rating? European Game Rating. The European one is called the PEGI. Yeah, PEGI. So, there's the ESRB, there's PEGI, which is Europe, there's CIRA, which is Japan. And so, from that Nintendo statement, it seems like, oh, well, we have our own guidelines, which is obviously stuff like, CP, rape, stuff like that, obviously. But then it's also, they try to match games with their content ratings. But nothing in Cyberpunk, they decided that, hey, all of this is appropriate. So if that's then everything in Dispatch should also be appropriate. In theory, as long as they are able to accept that age rating. Admittedly, I do not know what the age rating on Cyberpunk is. Let me Google that one. Cyberpunk is rated M for mature. It just has a mature 17 rating. So Dispatch would have a mature 17 rating, at least in the States on the ESRB, but that would still be the thing. So yeah, I take that statement as no, Nintendo did not censor the game, Ad Hoc did. So why did Ad Hoc make the statement? And Well, why didn't they tell anybody about it? Well, as people realized, the censored version of the game released in both America and Japan. But also on that same day, the PS5 version released in Japan. And the PS5 version is the same version as the Switch 2 version, the Switch and Switch 2 version. So people did some research, and basically the Japanese rating board system, the CERO, CERO, has very strict policies against nudity. They do not want nudity in games at all. That gets you like an A, like adults only rating. CERO. Yeah, let me look at CERO rating system. It's... yeah, so there's like no sex-related expressions, you know, nudity, sex-invoking expressions, adultery, stuff like that. And that gets you, there's the highest rating is CERO Z, which is 18 and above. And basically the theory is, at this moment, that Ad Hoc, you know, they did not want that CERO Z ranking. Instead, they wanted whatever the one below it is. So they made a version specifically for Japan that censors everything. But instead of making, okay, this is the Japanese version that censors everything, and then making an American version that doesn't, they only made one version, and then just released it in both regions. That is, at the moment, our best guess to explain what happens. Is that they, instead of making two different versions like they did on PlayStation, they just made one version, and that is the one version you got no matter what region you're in. And I more or less believe that this is the reason. That, you know, oh, well, Nintendo's a primarily Japanese company. You know, Nintendo gamers are just babies. They won't care if it's censored. And clearly they were wrong. Like, clearly this is blown up in their face. But I think this makes the most sense. This kind of lines up with Nintendo's statement. Less so with Ad Hocs, but still, you know, they're trying to meet the rating board and whatnot. And then the other thing that added on to this is Cyberpunk. Right? Cyberpunk was also censored in Japan. The Japanese version of Cyberpunk had to remove all the nudity and whatnot to get a more acceptable rating. But, you know, CD Projekt Red actually went through the effort of making a version that's Japan only. And so, yeah, I'm on Nintendo's side here. I fully do think Nintendo is innocent. They did not censor this game and said Ad Hoc, potentially it could be their publisher. You know, Ad Hoc is an independent studio, they do have a publisher. Potentially it was their publisher that made them do it. But instead of making two versions of the game, they just made one, and that's, you know, why this happened. I think that does make sense. I do see how we get here, but I do think that, yeah, this is not Nintendo, this is Ad Hoc. I fully blame them. So that was the story like 3 hours ago. Since then, Ad Hoc did come out and put out another statement. Basically, their new statement says that they're still claiming in the new statement that this is Nintendo's doing. That Nintendo has their policies and they censored the game to meet Nintendo's platform policy requirements. They're still claiming that, but they also say that they are going to be working with Nintendo to make a less censored version. What that less censored version is, we don't know. Right? It could just, because like, I understand like the nudity and whatnot. I think censoring the swearing is fucking stupid. Like, there's a ton of swearing in games on Nintendo platforms. Again, Cyberpunk, Witcher, allegedly Red Dead 2's coming to Switch. So swearing's all over the place. I don't know why they censored that. But yeah, they claim that they're going to be making a less censored version. Again, Mortal Kombat 1 is on Switch as well. Like, back in the 90s, Mortal Kombat couldn't have blood on Switch. But, you know, certain versions of Mortal Kombat had a blood toggle where you could enter, like, a special code to turn the blood back on. I don't think that was the Switch version. I think that was the Genesis version. But still, Just do that. Make your censored version, and the censors are on by default, but you can go into the settings and turn them all off. Just do that. I know that would require some onus on, you know, parents who, like, don't pay attention to what games their kids are playing, and will see, like, oh, superhero game, yeah, I'll get this cartoony superhero game for my kids, not realizing, you know, sex, nudity, and whatnot. But that's the parents' fault. That's why you need parental, that's why the Switch, that's not why they need parental settings, that's why they have parental settings that will inform you if your kid is playing an M-rated game, which I'm pretty sure just already exist on the Switch. So yes, I do hope, you know, they make an uncensored version. Now, admittedly, they did say this is not going to take like a day or two. This is going to take weeks. So do not expect them to like turn around and release a uncensored version. But they're going to be working on it, is what I get from the statement. And then finally, they did say that they have gone back in and they have fixed like the disclaimer thing. Because like I said, the disclaimer was there, but it was like buried into the page, and now they've made it more prevalent. They've made it more obvious. So that is good. You know, that is a good change that I'm glad they did make. I'm like, even just like trying to pull up the page to look at it, it's asking me for age verification. Like, it knows that this is a mature game. Oh shit. Give me a second. Yeah, like, they know it's a mature game. Let me see. Okay, so reading through the page, Dispatch is a superhero workplace comedy, and then right under, so it has the first paragraph, and right under it, it says, note, some mature content from Dispatch's original version has been modified. So they put that right up there, front and center. And yeah. I thought the publisher was different. I knew it was Ad Hoc Studios. I thought they had a different publisher. Huh, I guess not. And, like, we knew the art, like, okay, one of the things we did know about Dispatch is that the art was censored. Like, there was, like, an art promo, and on the Switch, like, YouTube page, they censored that for some reason as well. But that might also be part of this, but I also think that's kind of dumb. So, I don't know all the details. But, and I guess it wasn't censored, like, there was a censored art in America, but it wasn't censored in Europe. Just like the promotional art. But yeah, no, I have come out of this whole scenario being on Nintendo's side. That this is, you know, I saw somebody be like, oh, woke Nintendo censoring games. I don't think Nintendo's the bad guy here. I really, with all this information, I have come out and been like, no, Ad Hoc. I wouldn't even say like they're the bad guys. It's just that, you know, they're blaming Nintendo for censorship when it doesn't really look like this was Nintendo's doing. This looks like the onus is on them. They censored their own game. And yeah, in the Japanese reasons, you know, they needed to do that to fit the content standards. But in America, they didn't, and they did it anyways. So yeah, I'm still interested in Dispatch. I know for some people, this has been a total turnoff, that they refuse to play this game now. And yeah, especially as the story developed, I definitely get that feeling that, you know, I trust Ad Hoc less and less now. But I've heard nothing but amazing things about this game. Again, Kinda Funny put it very high on their rankings. I am interested in it still. Unlike, you know, if you want to get if you got the game, you know, you pre-ordered it, you wanted a refund, from what it seems like Nintendo is just giving anybody who wants one a refund. I get that. If you want that, go ahead. I don't think I'm going to, and maybe I'll just wait and see if they decensor it, or maybe I play it censored. I don't know. Somebody has to. I know somebody has already done that, but still. Anything else with dispatch? No, I think that's it at the moment. Let me just check one thing. Yeah, okay, whatever. Alright, so I'm going to go get some water, because I ran out, and I probably also need to pee. So I'm going to go do that real quick, and then we will come back, we'll talk about Tomodachi Life, I'll give some Nintendo Direct predictions, and we'll get into all the WIBE stuff. Because we now have... Because we needed to cure these people to get, Bernard here. Because we needed Bernard to fly to the 4th area. So we had to do these missions now. Like, that's the reason why I did them right here. I don't know how many more nighttime missions we'll do. Because I don't know if I'm going to 100% this game. I want to 100% each area, but I don't want to do the nighttime missions. I don't really want to do the Dandori dungeon. I don't really care to do Olimar's quest. Olimar's side story is fine. It's an enjoyable experience, but I don't think I want to do that. So, I don't know. We'll see. But, okay, let me go... Let me go hit that. Yeah, okay. I was just double checking something. Alright, I'm gonna go pee and get some more water. I will be right back. All right, we're back. So let's head over to the hero's hideaway. Yeah. I had to double check to make sure we finished Sunspeckled Terrorist, because I wasn't actually sure. Or Serene. I don't know why I keep saying that. I meant Serene Shores. So let's talk Tomodachi Life, shall we? So Tomodachi Life, just out of nowhere's got a Nintendo Direct. You know, you would have thought that they were saving this for, you know, after some sort of big Nintendo Direct. But Nintendo's just been dropping news. And that does have some people concerned that a Nintendo Direct isn't going to happen, or as new things indicate, that it's going to be a partner Direct. And we'll, of course, talk about it in a second, but yeah, I'm definitely of that mind that this is very much feels telling. So if we wanted to in the Hero's Hideaway, we could just go beat the game right now. All we need to do is get that playing card over there on the dartboard, and we can just go beat it. But I think we'll explore a little bit. There are some things that we do want the post-game for. Because, like, things change in this area once you get the post-game. Specifically, Moss disappears. So we'll have to go do that sooner or later. But yeah, so what was this Tomodachi Life Direct? So it starts off with Koizumi, and he turns into a Mii. Because the original Tomodachi Life Direct back in, like, 2014, 11, 12-ish years ago, also started with Bill Trinan turning into a Mii. So it's like, okay, that's a fun callback. You know, Tomodachi Life is, by its nature, a very charming game, and I expect that to reflect in this. And so seeing that, you know, we get exactly what we wanted. From there, they start off a new save file. There's a part of this that kind of feels like it's like a mini Let's Play. Like, it's walking us through the game and all of its basic features, but it's also just playing the game. So we get to see, you know, character customization. You can either start from scratch, or you can get help. So in the 3DS version, there was a camera on the 3DS, so you can just take a picture. And even though the Switch 2 has a camera, kind of, this does not have camera support, or at least not yet, it doesn't. Because they did not announce a Switch 2 version, but I could see a Switch 2 version that adds, like, mouse controls and whatnot. I could see that. I could see them adding, like, the camera Mii Maker. That'd be I wonder how far that technology's gone in the past, you know, 12 plus year, 12, 15 years. But so get help is that you answer questions about a person. And then based on those questions, it creates a Mii for them. You know, think like the Pokemon quiz from the Mystery Dungeons games. But instead, it's making a Mii. Which I know other games also do, like, lookalikes. So it's not entirely like that, but it's a good start. I don't know. I could see Get Help not being a terrible option. Especially if you, like, don't know where to start, or you're maybe, like, doing, like, a fictional character that, you know, you don't entirely know how to answer for. Because that is something, I don't remember who pointed this out. Might have been Venny, might have been Arlo, might have been somebody on Twitter. That this game seems to be less focused on, you know, recreating people and more on making up stories with people. Like, the original Tomodachi Life, I'm just going to keep saying the original Tomodachi Life. Technically, it's the second one. Who gives a shit? The original Tomodachi Life very much was like the Direct was a great example. In the Nintendo Direct, you had Bill Trinan, you had Reggie Fils-Aimé, you had Iwata, you know, you had all these people, and Shiggy, and they were, like, recreated in Tomodachi Life, and you were going on, like, fun adventures. I think the biggest tell of this change between, you know, the original Tomodachi Life being you recreating your friends and family, and this one being more about a story, is that the first Mii you created in Tomodachi Life was said to be your lookalike. That you were the player, and the first Mii was just your lookalike. Whereas in this game, yes, you create your first Mii potentially off of yourself, but the Miis no longer say like, oh, what's up, you know, Karen's lookalike. They now say, what's up, leader? And potentially you might be able to change that as well. But they no longer call you a lookalike. So there seems to be, you know, this de-emphasis on, like, just recreating people you know, and more on telling these crazy, wacky stories in the game's engine. Which, yes, okay, this trailer does present it in a way of like, oh, you know, we're a college student, Angie, and she's recreating her boss, her, you know, mentor, her best friend. So there are definitely elements of that, but then there's also characters like Mochi the Bear, Hugh Morris the Jester, the Alien, that are less, you know, realistic, for lack of a better word. So in customization, they do say that, you know, all the Mii customization features you expect are there, but there's also a bunch of new ones. So they have updated the Mii customization maker to, you know, they've added new hairstyles, new eyes, there's new noses, ears. For the first time ever, you can add a Mii with ears. They have elf ears as an option, so if, you know, you want to make your Links and your Zeldas. You can change their voice and their personalities, so it's like the personality quiz from Life. But the big new change, the one that, you know, Nintendo promised the big new change, the one that Nintendo promised 12 years ago, was that the next Tomodachi Life would be more inclusive. And so, in this game, you get to pick your Mii's gender. They can be male, female, or non-binary. And you get to pick their dating preference. They can choose one, they can choose more than one, or they can do none. So, you know, if you want a straight villager, or I guess if you want a heterosexual villager, if you want a homosexual villager, if you want to do bi, if you want to do pan, if you want to do asexual, all of that is in the cards. And I love that. And I also do fully suspect, they don't say it in the trailer, and I'm pretty sure this is how it worked in the original Tomodachi Life as well, that any villager will be able to wear any type of clothing. So if you want to make a male character that only wears maid outfits, you can do a male character that only makes maid outfits. So, you know, if you want to do, you know, trans or anything like that, this game gives you the freedom to do that. There are probably no restrictions, because Nintendo, as the years have gone by, have become more and more inclusive. You know, Animal Crossing, Pokemon. Third example, there are no gender limitations. Any character can wear anything. And that's the right way to do it. And yeah, Nintendo made a promise that they were going to be better. And even in their non-Tomodachi Life games, they have been living up to that promise. And they have gotten better. And we see it in all their other games. And even stuff like, you know, LGBTQ relationships. Like, I know they started off pretty rocky with Fire Emblem Fates. But they've also, over time... They, over time, have gotten better. You know, they eventually figured out how to do the gays in Fire Emblem, because their first attempt was not great. They've gotten better. Sure, do I just wish they would confirm some of their gay characters are gay? Because they're very obviously gay and not just like Bert and Ernie gay? Yes, I wish they would do that. But this is Nintendo. Everyone is a Bert and Ernie relationship. Even the straight characters. So, equality? So after that, you know, you add your island resident. You can make them look like you can make them look like anyone. The more Miis, the larger your island grows. I'm pretty sure that's how it worked in the original as well. Like, when you do your first Mii, you'll get, like, your first upgrade, so on and so forth. So that more or less seems like how I remembered it. You can make Miis using combining features and drawing on their faces. So it looks like we don't have the full customization of something like Miitopia, where you can do like full-on makeup to make like Elmo or Sans Undertale. It doesn't look like we go that far, but we definitely have some of it. Like, there is definitely some customization. Like, the big example the trailer gives is you make a stuffed teddy bear. So, I do fully expect there to be a good chunk of customization, that people will be able to do crazy things. The only part that sucks is that you seemingly cannot share your creations. So, if you do something, like let's say you make Sans Undertale, you cannot share your Sans Undertale. And that kind of sucks. I wish you would be able to share your Sans Undertale. But we'll talk about that, obviously. From there, they show off... There's gonna be... Tomodachi Life, the original, I always described as like an ant farm. Where, yeah, sure, you can, you make your ant farm. You can set up some of the basics, like what material they're digging in. But, like, unlike The Sims, where you are basically a god controlling every aspect of your Sims life, if you want, this game is a lot more hands-off. You have a lot less control in Tomodachi Life. Instead, the villagers kind of do what they want based on their personalities, based on their relationships. There is a lot less control, but that's what makes Tomodachi Life more interesting. I kind of like that lack of control. And I'm sure you can do something similar with The Sims if you really want to. But it's a lot more, yeah, Tomodachi Life is like an ant farm. It's a lot more hands-off. And it's just you watching your ants and all, like, the wild shit they get up to. So, but this game is giving the player more agency. There's more stuff to do. In some ways, when it comes to customization, there seems to be a lot more stuff you can do. So, like, one of the first things we see is that the character can, like, put characters next to each other and decide, like, well, oh, you two should be friends, so I'm going to place you next to each other. And yeah, that makes sense. I get that. Of course, they also show that Miis can interact with different elements of the world. So, like, oh, there's a vending machine that they can go up and buy food from. Oh, there's a, sprinkler that you place down that occasionally the Miis will go check out and play with. Stuff like that. Because, of course, as you play the game, well, it's like Animal Crossing where it's in real time, but the game still progresses while you're away. So, you could leave one day and everything's hunky-dory, and then come in the next day and find out that no, now two villagers hate each other and had like an argument. And sometimes you will see that argument, sometimes you won't. Right? The world of Tomodachi Life exists whether you're watching or not. Unlike Animal Crossing, where, when you're gone, everyone's in stasis, nobody does anything, and everybody might as well, like, be dead. And, Tomodachi Life has cannibalism. Like, if you go away for too long and stop feeding them, they will metaphorically start eating each other. They show a meet cute that villagers, will start dating each other when they accidentally bump into each other. Slice of toast, completely optional. We get to see some of the shops. Fresh Kingdom, where you can buy food. Where and where you can buy clothing. The news station, the Me News is back. And of course, they're all just wacky, goofy stories. Like, it's not stuff to actually be taken seriously. It's all for jokey jokes. There's TNC Reno, renovation. Not the city in Nevada, where you can buy new rooms. There's a marketplace where they sell, like, mystery bags. And out of the mystery bag, they pull a lion, which I think is a perfect example of, like, the type of game this is. They brought back the photo place where you can do custom photos. Sucks that you can't share those photos, potentially. Like, that's kind of like, you give us a place to do photos and then don't let us share them. Like, what the fuck, Nintendo? Again, I get it. We'll talk about it. But it's also just weird. They show off that Mii's will suggest changes to the island. So, like, the example is like, oh, the Mii says the place should have more greenery. And then they'll suggest that you add some trees and some bushes and some flowers. And so there's a new shop called Quick Build where you can buy items to place on your island. You know, this lets you place your own landscaping. You can make, like, specifically, like, designated areas where your Miis will hang out. Like, I don't know, if you build a cafe in Animal Crossing, will your villagers ever actually go to that cafe? 'Cause they really won't. Like, that's a change I would make for the new Animal Crossing, is let me do some zoning. Let me be like, okay, this is a cafe area, and villagers will know to, like, go there and do cafe stuff. Or you could do, like, hey, this is a park. So, you know, villagers should, like, chill out here, you know, with their pet flies. Like, let me do some zoning, because this game kind of seemingly has some zoning stuff built into it. You can change the topography of the island. It doesn't seem like there's mountains, but instead you can make the land go up. You can add, like, more land, or you could take away land and make it more oceany. They show off custom islands. So, whereas, like, Animal Crossing is very big about, like, building the inside of your house, and then they added terraforming, this one more feels like you're making, like, works of art. Like, yeah, you're making a city, but you're trying to, like, replicate it. You know, like, you're replicating, like, Tokyo and whatnot. The only limit is your limited imagination. And they show off a new place called Palette House, where you can customize how the floor textures look. You can customize how the houses look. So that way you can truly get what you want. And yeah, that one's, like, full-on, like, block city with, like, that's supposed to be, like, Tokyo. In the trailer, it may be also Cyberpunk, I think looked really good. Like, genuinely, I think people are going to do some amazing things. Too bad you can't show anybody. The next feature they showed was Little Quirks. So in Tomodachi Life, how it works is as you interact with your residents, they level up. And whenever they level up, you get to, like, give them, like, gifts. Like, oh, you know, here you can have a bath set. You can have a new music track. You can have a mirror. And, like, they have, like, little events related to them. You can give them a dog or a cat. Little Quirks is kind of like an extension of that, but it changes how the villagers exist in the world. It changes their habits. So, like, we see a villager, or I'm going to call them villagers and residents. The official term is residents, but I just keep using the term villager because, again, Animal Crossing. So the residents, like, there's one quirk where it's like, oh, they'll, you know, walk like a penguin. There's one quirk when they look at food they like, react more extremely. There's one where they're, like, chilling out, they'll cross their arms. We see the alien one where they're, like, hovering off the ground when they walk. So, like, my first thought is, oh, you give that to, like, a Rosalina Mii, and then they move around like how they do in the games. That's kind of neat. I think it's just the little quirks that give Mii's these custom expressions to make them feel more personal. And I think this is a great idea. Like, actually, I am totally down for this whole little quirks feature. I think it just makes the characters feel more alive. Hopefully there are a bunch of them. Like, I don't want them to be very limiting. I want there to be, like, a bunch of these little quirks. But I think this is a good change. From there, they talked about, you know, reactions, like how your Mii will get rejected. And then, you know, you have to cheer them up. In the previous game, you could, like, cheer them up with, like, food, or maybe another resident will suggest, like, hey, can I go over to, you know, Annabeth's place and cheer her up? But in this time, you can kind of, like, force it. So we see, like, them force Hugh Morris to go cheer up Angie. I'll be honest. the Hugh Morris joke. When I first read, Hugh Morris and I heard it in the trailer, my thought is like, okay, it's like a Mike Cock situation, or, what's the other one? Mike Cock, I Want to Scratch and Sniff. There's a bunch of Simpsons ones. And so when I saw that, I was like, okay, it's like a joke like that, but specifically for ginormous. It's a play on the term ginormous, because if you watch the trailer, Hugh is like the tallest villager on the island. So I was like, oh, Hugh Morris, Hugh Normus. Okay, I get the pun. I'm pretty sure it was the same pun as like Sky High, but I get it. And then when I was watching Venny's reaction to the trailer, and he was like, Hugh Morris, humorous. That's the actual pun. I missed the pun. I thought it was a different pun. It's humorous. I completely missed that joke. I'll fully admit I missed that. But hey, people love Hugh Morris. If the fan art is anything to go by, people loved this guy. Which, by the way, I already know this game is going to be a success, because this is literally just a direct, a game demonstration. And yet people have already fallen in love with these characters that, again, are not in the game. These are just something made up for this direct. And yet people loved Hugh Morris. They like Angie. They like the vampire lady it was like Crystal or something. They like Jess. They like Dr. Winters. Like, I have seen multiple pieces of fan art for these characters, who, again, are not the game's whatever you want it to be. But this shows that Nintendo did a good job, that people are finding these characters charming. That, the game is quirky and fun enough that people are digging it. I totally see it as a success. And yes, I think we're gonna, people are gonna add Hugh Morris's to their island. Too bad that they can't share screenshots. But again, we'll get to it. So after that, they showed off some of the more stuff Pallet House can do. You can do pets. Like in the previous game, you just gave your character like a Nintendog. In this one, no, you like draw the pet. You can draw latte art, TV, clothing, a lot of customization. It basically is just the Animal Crossing custom design stuff, but it applies to more things, and I think that's great. I actually think, yeah, for as much as this game seems to be ripping off Animal Crossing shtick, there are some ways where I'm like, oh wait, they're kind of doing this better. Like this whole palette, like being able to create custom houses, like fuck, Animal Crossing should have had that. And you seem to be able to create other stuff, like it seems to be very freeform. Yeah, Animal Crossing should have done some of this. I know there are some people who hate Animal Crossing New Horizons for having too much customization, but this is just more, just in a different direction. After that, we see a love confession. Of course, like the previous game, you get to pick where the love confession happens and what they say, including getting to write your own message, which is always super charming. So we see the love confession play out. Angie confesses to Hugh Morris. He turns her down. But they get surprised by Jess and Dr. Winters. And it just shows how charming the game is. I love that Dr. Winters has like the I love humorous shirt. I hope that's like a thing that just exists for that cutscene and not something like they made. Like, I hope that during the love confession, they'll just come in with like a shirt that says I love with the Mii's face on it. Like, that would be funny if that like is like a scripted thing in the game and not something you have to like make yourself. But yeah, the love confessions are fun. They're dumb. If you ever want a good example, Vine Sauce did the Sloppy Second Brothers, which is Bruce and Carl Pilkington. Go watch that video. Very nostalgic, but it's a lot of fun, man. It really is. After that, they show off that residents can move in together. They can share houses. They will have special interactions when they're living together. And you can have up to 8 residents living in the same building. I will be completely honest. When I first saw this, my first reaction was, okay, you know, they added LGBTQ elements. It looks like they also added a polycule. So you can get all your Miis together living in the same apartment as part of a polycule. And yeah, that's not entirely what this is, but that's kind of what this is. If you want it to be. And I kind of, you know, I might play it like that. Depending on what I end up doing. Because that's very funny. But, you know, I like all that. You know, I've also seen people, there's a scene where, like, they're flipping between, like, I want to watch green. No, I want to watch pink. I've seen multiple memes of that. And again, this is all in, like, 24 hours. From there, you know, weddings are back. Children are back. If you watch my reaction video, I mention adoptions. The reason why I mention adoptions for, you know, LGBTQ couples is because of Stardew Valley. Stardew Valley, you know, also did gay marriage, and in theirs, they solved the issue by being like, okay, you know, if it's 2 different sex, you can have a kid. But if they're not, you can just do adoption. And I want to say even if they are different sexes, you can also do adoption as well. But yeah, so I want New Horizons to do something similar. That, you know, even if they're both the same sex, they can still have a kid and it's adoption, and the kid just looks just like them. Or maybe even have, like, a special item that's, like, you know, like, the original game had, like, child spray and adult spray, which, from what I can tell, children are not back in this game. In Tomodachi, the original, there were children. Like, you could have adult villagers and children villagers. It looks like they more or less got rid of children villagers, which I think is definitely the right move. So yeah, just have some way for, you know, same-sex couples to have kids. Or, you know, basically any couple could have kids. I don't know how they do it, but I think adoption is easy, and it just uses the same system that fuses, like, different features of the different Mii's faces together. I think that'd be fun. And then, so we did get a release date, finally. It's coming April 16th, 2026. That's kind of what I was predicting, April or May. You know, we had Meetup at Bellabelle Park. I kind of completely forgot about Pokopia. Pokopia is like the first week of March. So, you know, as much as I wanted this to be in March, Pokopia, it was never going to be because of Pokopia. But, you know, I think April release date is fine. It's not May. I think it's fine. I wish it was a little earlier in the month, but whatever. There is not a Nintendo Switch 2 version. It is still possible that could happen. I very much feel like the island customization features very much do lend themselves to a Switch 2 version, as well as, you know, creating patterns and whatnot. There's a lot of things they could do in a Switch 2 version. But for the moment, they're not doing anything. Before we get to the controversial point, the last thing I want to bring up is different regions actually got different directs. So there seems to be 3 versions of this direct. There was the American version, which was all about Angie. There was a European version, which, you know, was British, and followed a different set of villagers. Residents. Some of the residents were the same, just with different names. But other residents were also just straight up different. Like, you know, the protagonist we follow in the European version. I specifically watched the British version. I want to say her name was like Jessica or something like that. It wasn't Angie, you know, and she was white. But she's a different type. She was a different villager. And instead of Hugh Morris being the clown, they just had a straight up clown named Bubbles. Like, this version just had a straight-up clown. I suspect Nintendo did that because, you know, Americans are afraid of clowns, Europeans, I guess, are less so, and then clowns don't actually exist in Japan. Like, if I've learned anything from ARMS development, yeah, clowns don't exist in Japan. So that's why the Japanese version doesn't have a clown, is because there are no clowns in Japan. That makes sense to me. But yeah, there is also a Japanese version. I did not watch the Japanese version, but I watched the UK one because, again, it was still in English. The other big change... that was the only change. It's like what the villagers were. Other than that, the American and the European and the Japanese versions all feature the same content. Some of the scenes are exactly the same. Just, you know, with different villagers. Yeah, that's good. I do like that they're doing different versions, you know, taking in more of that cultural account. I think it all looks very solid. So what is the controversy? Because, you know, WND, there always has to be a weird Nintendo decision. The monkey's paw curls its finger again. We couldn't just get Tomodachi Life. So Nintendo revealed afterwards that Tomodachi Life Live in the Dream will have no online connectivity. So they specifically pointed this out for things like screenshots. That from my... Okay, this story is kind of complicated, but from my understanding, while you are playing the game, you will be able to take screenshots, but afterwards, like when you go to view them, like, Nintendo internally categorizes what screenshots were taken for what games. And so they know that, like, oh, well, you took the screenshot for Tomodachi Life. So as a result, you will not be able to share it on Twitter or Facebook. You also will not be able to send it to your phone. So that seemingly is what they're doing. Basically, they don't want people to take the game out of context. Tomodachi Life is an inherently very weird game, much to its own success. Like, I will be completely honest. I actually had no intention of picking up Tomodachi Life, and then I watched Venny Vinesauce play it. Then I watched Game Explains playing it. Right? I watched these YouTubers play the game, and was like, oh, this is very funny. I want to play this. And so I feel like Nintendo being like, no, we're not going to have stuff on Twitter, or, you know, Facebook, or we're not going to let people share screenshots. That's kind of like limiting the game. Of course, if you have a capture card, that won't be an issue. From what I can tell, you can still take screenshots, so you can still, like, put them on an SD card and plug the SD card into your computer. So, like, there are ways to get around this. It's just kind of fucking weird, man. Like, I understand, because Nintendo specifically wants to avoid stuff like, oh, someone's gonna create a Donald Trump me and a Jeffrey Epstein me, and then have them get married to each other. And Nintendo wants to avoid that, because, you know, Nintendo wants to avoid politics. Because guess what? Gender and sexuality are not politics. Those are just people's lives. But Trump not releasing the Epstein files because, you know, he was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein, and he also, you know, gave a blowjob to Bill Clinton, allegedly. Yeah, Nintendo doesn't want that in their game. I get it. I understand why Nintendo did what they did. I think Venny Vinesauce used the metaphor of like, oh, someone's going to create an Osama bin Laden me, and Nintendo doesn't want to deal with that either. I get it. I understand where Nintendo's coming from. They're not wrong. It just, this game the original Tomodachi Life sold like 7 million copies. And I do not, if it wasn't for things like YouTube, I do not believe that would have happened. I think Tomodachi Life owes a lot of success to things like the internet. And this was back when Nintendo fucking hated people posting videos about their games. Like, things have changed a lot since then. But I understand it's a weird Nintendo decision. This doesn't kill the game. And if this does ruin the game for people, I feel like it's mostly going to be the chuds. You know, the people who were never going to buy this game to begin with because it's woke. and they're fucking stupid. But, like, yeah, I get it. It makes things harder, you know? But life finds a way. It always will. So yes, everything here from Tomodachi Life looks fantastic. I love everything we've seen so far. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Nintendo knows what they're doing. They know why... wait, what? Oh, fuck. Okay, at least they're not deadly. If this was Pikmin 2, that would have been a bomb. Yeah, at least they're not... Like, they know people like Tomodachi Life because it's weird. And they're still very much leaning into, hey, this game is weird, we should embrace that. But they also don't want people to be scared away by that. I think it's going to do fine. Every YouTuber I know is into this. Every YouTuber I know who could be into this is into this. I mentioned I'm very excited to see if Vinny Vinesauce does it again. I did watch his reaction to the Direct. And he basically said that, yes, he's going to be doing a series. But, he's 40 years old. Things have changed a lot since in the past, 12 years. He's older. He can't do what he used to. So it's probably not going to be like a massive thing like it could have been. And you know what? I don't blame him. I get it. I kind of feel the same way about Animal Crossing. I did the original Animal Crossing 5 years ago. It was during COVID. I was a lot more flexible with what I could do. But nowadays, I'm rather limited. So that's why I'm still trying to do something, but just a lot smaller. And for the next Animal Crossing, I'm doing fucking nothing. I don't know if I've said that, but if they ever make Animal Crossing Switch 2 or Animal Crossing 5 or whatever... I'm not doing anything. That's going to be my own solo experience. Yeah, no, I did my time. Never again. But I did it once, and that's what matters. So yeah, Tomodachi Life looks fantastic. I know I will have a good time when it comes out. But, We've got some time. I kind of completely forgot that there's a Pokemon village building game in the meantime that we also get to kind of go through. And hopefully that one's great. I don't know. I think it was Arlo's video. He predicted Pokopia would get a 91 on Metacritic. Not a fucking chance in hell that game gets above an 80. Listen, I'm very excited for Pokopia. I think it's going to be great, but there's no way that game gets above an 80. Not a chance in hell. So speaking of future games, there have been a lot of rumors swirling this week that we're going to get a Nintendo Direct. Originally, this started off with Nate the Hate saying that we're going to get a big Nintendo Direct that's going to reveal a lot of stuff. As the week has gone on, however, these predictions have kind of changed to go from, hey, we're getting a big Nintendo Direct, to instead, we're getting a partner presents, a partner showcase. And I think that makes sense. Nintendo has been revealing a lot of information recently for a lot of different games. And while, yes, they potentially, they've revealed all the stuff we already know to make way for the new stuff. Usually Nintendo doesn't reveal that many new things in the February Direct. The new things are saved for, the June Direct or the September Direct. So I think it makes sense that we're potentially only getting a partner Direct. Because right now, we know everything Nintendo is doing between now and April. We've gotten it all. We got stuff for the Mario Bros. Movie. We got the whole meetup at Bellabelle Park thing. We've got Pokopia. We don't technically need any more. We want more. I want to know what they're doing in May. I want hints of what they're doing out during the summer. But we kind of have everything we need at the moment. So when I originally, so yeah, in the past like 24 hours, this has shifted from a general direct to a... What happened with what you said before? Oh, I have no idea. I have no idea what you're talking about. What did I say? That Animal Crossing thing was like 3 hours ago. I cannot for the life of me even tell you what happened. Watching these dudes play Animal Crossing, but I lose brain cells every time I hear them talk. Are you sure you're not just watching me? Are you watching my Spanish dub channel? Could you imagine? Going back into the VODs. Yeah. I don't know. We're talking Nintendo Direct predictions. You got any Nintendo Direct predictions? Oh, Among Us. I heard Animal Crossing. Yeah, I did not read that. I just was like, oh yeah, Animal Crossing. Yeah, straight flops. So when I started writing my direct predictions, it was under the assumption that this was going to be a general Nintendo Direct. I will at the end talk about some partner showcase stuff, but most of these predictions are going to be for general Nintendo Direct. So just like keep that in mind. Cuz that's what I expect. Even though it's probably not going to be that. Yeah, I will talk about Zelda. I do have some Zelda stuff on here. So, I guess let's start. So, there's been a lot of talk about us getting a new 3D Mario game. I know Nate the H, who originally started these rumors, said that there was going to be a new Zelda, a new 3D Mario this year. And I'm not calling him a liar, but I don't think we're going to get a new traditional 3D Mario. Like, we're not getting Odyssey 2. Okay, we might get Galaxy 3. I'd be perfectly happy if we get Galaxy 3. My prediction, though, we're gonna get Mario Maker 3. And specifically, it's gonna be Super Mario 3D Maker. They're specifically doing Mario Maker in 3D, and you're gonna be able to create 3D levels. You know, I saw someone make a Mario Maker prediction where they were like taking like 2D levels but applying 3D themes. I think that makes no sense. I think it makes much more sense to do 3D levels with 3D themes. No, I don't like the name. 3D. Honestly, yeah. I think Mario Maker 3D makes more sense though, because then you've got the 3 at the end of the title like it would be phonetically. 3D Mario Maker is also fine. Yeah, I mean, listen, Nintendo named a console the fucking 3DS. The Nintendo 3DS. Of course, they put the 3D at the end. So, my guess is it's going to be, you know, you make 3D levels, you have the Mario 64 style, you have a Sunshine style that gives you the water jetpack, you have a Mario Galaxy style that lets you play with gravity, and maybe you can make like planetoids. And then you have an Odyssey style which gives you Cappy. And allows you to capture enemies. So each style has its own specific gimmick that you can use, that you can design levels around. I think it would make sense if you were able to design 2 types of levels. If you were able to design like straight A to B levels, kind of like 3D World in 3D Land. But I also think you should be able to design open-ended levels that have like multiple endings. So like, oh, well, in this level, you know, you have like a straight point A to B level. But then you could also do like, oh, in this level, there are like 6 different stars to collect. And you can collect them in any order. And it's a little bit more open. Admittedly, I could see every level just being like 3D World or the Galaxy games. I think that would also make sense. But I could see them being a little bit more open like Mario 64. Just depending on how many tools they give you. So, there's a program made by Amethyst SZS called Moonflow. And Moonflow is a Mario Odyssey tool that allows you to create custom Mario Odyssey levels. And I kind of hope it works like that, where you can, maybe with like less of the coding and more like a game builder garage or something. But it allows you to make your own custom levels. You can place down platforms, you can place down enemies, you can make custom elements. I want it to be, you know, basically Mario Maker, but in 3D. I don't think it needs to be super complicated. It can be. I mean, again, when you're working with physics objects and different themes, this could easily get very complicated. But I don't think it has to be. I think 3D Mario Maker makes perfect sense. I think it is a very easy prediction. I also, you know, I actually have that in my notes. No joke. I know some people have said, well, what if they give Mario Maker 2 an update? And I could see them adding mouse controls to Mario Maker 2, but I actually don't need any Mario Maker 2. I would much rather have them just go to Mario Maker 3D. I would also be perfectly fine if they did Zelda Maker. Let me make Zelda dungeons. Let me make an overworld map in Zelda. Literally, let me design my own 2D Zelda game. I would love that. You know, you get to make dungeons, you can place chests, you can place weapons. So like, oh, you know, you can place like, this weapon has the hook shot, and I get to place it, and then I can design like another dungeon that takes into account that I already have the hook shot because I beat a different dungeon. I think a Zelda Maker also has a lot of potential. And it is also Zelda's 40th anniversary this year. I know we kind of got a Zelda Dungeon Maker in Link's Awakening remake. I think a Zelda Maker has so much potential. It's just how far does Nintendo want to go with it? Like, there's a part of me that just wants Zelda Maker to be like RPG Maker. Like, do that, but with Zelda. Give me a lot of tools. Let me place down NPCs and write their own dialogue. I mean, Kirby Maker would be very similar to Mario Maker. I wouldn't hate it. I don't hate that idea. But I feel like Zelda Maker would be more unique. Yeah, and no matter what, I think we're going to get... I like the idea of some sort of Maker thing. And my prediction would be October. Kind of, you know, very beginning of the holiday season. Zelda does not sell well enough to warrant a Maker game. I would love... Metroid Maker, it would be cool, but Metroid games just do not sell that well. Nobody would fucking play it. And Nintendo considers Mario Maker 2 a disappointment, despite the fact that it sold like 8 million copies. So, like, I don't know. The highest selling Zelda game has not sold more than Mario Maker 2, and Mario Maker 2 was a disappointment. Internally. I mean, 8 million copies is nothing to sneeze at all. Games would kill for 8 million copies. But Nintendo was not satisfied. They were really in their Ubisoft era, man. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, specifically when it comes to Mario, oh, fuck yeah. Which is crazy. Again, that's all alleged. The whole Mario Maker 2 is a disappointment is all alleged. But, I guess, according to Kit and Krista, former Nintendo employees, Tomodachi Life, the 3DS version, was also considered a disappointment, despite the fact that it sold 7 million copies for what was effectively a new IP. That's fucking crazy. That's fucking crazy. That Nintendo was mad, that Nintendo of Japan was mad at Nintendo of America for Tomodachi Life not selling better, despite it selling 7 million copies. Like, what the fuck? No wonder it took us 13 years to get a sequel. Okay, 12. Yeah. Yeah, GTA. You know what? Okay, so GTA comes out in November. I do not think we're getting a Nintendo game in November, except for Pokemon. I think I will not at all be surprised if Pokemon comes out within like a week or two of GTA. I'm not going to make any Pokemon predictions because we have a Pokemon Direct coming at the end of the month. Even though I could see Pokopia showing up in a general Nintendo Direct. Because, you know, that does happen. But no, I legitimately think Pokemon Generation 10 is going to be the one game to release around GTA, if it sticks to its release date. If GTA sticks to that November release date, Pokemon head-to-head, and I think Pokemon is like the one game that could actually compete. I don't think any other game stands a chance. No, you gotta remember, GTA is going to be on PlayStation and Xbox. You know, kids can't play it, but you know what kids can play? Pokemon. You know, your dad's playing GTA 6, meanwhile little Billy and Susie are playing Pokemon on their Switch that doesn't have to be hooked up to the TV, and they can just play in handheld mode. Yeah, I think Pokemon's gonna go head-to-head with GTA, and they're the ones that actually gonna find success. Like, if GTA is actually sticking to its release date, then I guarantee you there are other games that are going to be delayed just to get out of GTA's way. Kind of like Silksong. You know how those games got delayed right around when Silksong was announced? Same thing. Play GTA, everyone's skipping work and school for that day. I mean, that's the Dragon Quest effect. Dragon Quest games are only allowed to release on weekends because whenever they come out, everyone in Japan plays them. And so they literally had to pass a law that says it has to happen over the weekend. Yeah, no, the American economy is suspected to lose $1 billion the same week that GTA comes out, because everyone's just going to play that. Yes they do, but also Americans just need more of a break in general as well. Alright, let's fucking just do this. So we've got 2 of the digits, and literally we can just guess the last one. Like, you do not need to pick up the card to do the last digit. You can just guess it. You can also, if you only have one of the digits, you can just guess the other 2. This was not coded complexly. The breaking into the vault is super easy. How is it going to carry the economy when everyone's playing it and nobody's doing anything else? Like, sure, it'll help Rockstar, but they're a British company. So, okay, so my first big prediction is Mario Maker 3. 3D Mario Maker. I think it makes sense. I could see Nintendo doing it. The next thing is Zelda. It is Zelda's 40th anniversary. I could see something. I think the most likely thing is one of the remakes. There were rumors for years that Nintendo was porting Wind Waker. Yeah, no, they're British. Yeah. Rockstar is British. At least I think they are. That sounds right in my head. I don't know, they seem very American, but no, I think they're British. So yeah, there were rumors for years that Wind Waker and Twilight Princess were going to be ported over to Switch, and that just never happened. For some reason, that never happened. Now, we know Nintendo likes to sit on games. Nintendo will make a game and sit on it for years, potentially. Like, as far as we're aware, Donkey Kong Bonanza was finished a full year before its release, and Nintendo just sat on it. So I could see Wind Waker was actually finished a while ago, and Nintendo has just been sitting on it, waiting for the right time to release it, And they don't have a big 3D Zelda. They just did a 2D Zelda, you know, Echoes of Wisdom. I think it would make sense that they do Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. I know some people are saying, I've seen some people say, oh, they're only going to do Twilight Princess. Weirdly enough, I've seen nobody say they're only going to do Wind Waker. But I've seen people say they're only going to do Twilight Princess. I don't believe that. I think, my guess is they're going to do a double pack. Kind of like what they did for Galaxy and Galaxy 2. And they're gonna basically charge, you know, $30, $40 per game. So yeah, you can get both Wind Waker and Twilight Princess together, but it's gonna cost you, you know, $70, $80. I could realistically see them doing that. And of course, you could also just buy them separately if you want. So that's my prediction right there, is they are going to do it. You can buy them together or separate, but my guess is they're each gonna cost $40. Wind Waker is $40, Twilight Princess is $40, together it's $80. That is my safe prediction. I hate it, but it's probably what's gonna happen. Oh, come on. I don't know how I screwed that up. Other things, you know, they could do Oracle of Seasons and Ages. I would love to see that. I would love to see, because originally Oracle of Ages and Seasons, there was supposed to be a third game that they ended up not doing. I could see them doing that third game. I think that would make sense. Maybe finally we get whatever the third one was supposed to be. So I think that is a possibility. The 2076 of GTA is poised to be the most significant entertainment launch in history, predicted to generate over $7.6 billion in its first 60 days. Yeah, I can believe that. I can believe they're going to sell that many copies. Yeah. Yeah, that's not hard to believe. But yeah, I would love an Oracle of Ages and Seasons, because as much as I've only ever played Oracle of Seasons, I've never played Oracle of Ages, and those games, kind of like Link's Awakening, and to a lesser extent Minish Cap, kind of need the remake. Just give me more buttons. That's the big thing. If they just gave me more buttons, I would have less issues. Of course, a lot of people with a Zelda movie next year, you know, we don't know what the Zelda movie's based on, even if it might not be based on any game at all. But if it is based on a game, it's either going to be Skyward Sword, Breath of the Wild, or Ocarina of Time. The costume design, personally, kind of looks like Breath of the Wild, but I could see them doing Ocarina of Time, at least in spirit. Spiritually doing Ocarina of Time. And so as a result, it would make sense for Nintendo to re-release Ocarina of Time. I want a remake of Ocarina of Time. My personal dream has always been remake of Ocarina of Time, but in the style that they used for the Final Fantasy VII remakes. I think that would make a lot of sense. Do I think it's actually going to happen? I don't know. But that's another safe prediction. Will GTA 5 be in the history books? We're all dead in 200 years. Will kids in the classroom be learning? It will. It'll be mentioned, you know, in the same place as, like, you know, like culture of the 2010s. Like, you know, we're halfway through the decade, more than that. So it'll be mentioned as like a, hey, this is an important cultural moment in 2010. You know, GTA 6. As like a grand scheme thing, I mean, there's a higher likelihood that, you know, all the protests that are going on right now will be mentioned before that. But you never know. I meant the 2020s. So, with Zelda, I think it makes sense that whatever Zelda game is announced comes out in, like, September. You know, Nintendo's gonna... Nintendo's going to put, they want to put out, they have said in the past they're going to put out a Zelda game every year. And for the most part, they've stuck to that. More or less, we've gotten a new Zelda game every year. You know, even if it's like an Age of Calamity or something. But I expect whatever, if there is a Zelda thing, I think, you know, Pokemon's going to go on in November, Mario's October, that kind of leaves Zelda in September, if there is something. You know, the leader's going to be playing it, you know, Kim Jong-un, Kim Il-sung, whoever's the leader of North Korea, he's going to be playing it. He loves that shit. I can't believe we failed that. God. And then also, okay, so last thing with Zelda. I do think that at some point this year, they're going to announce the next 3D Zelda. You know, the Breath of the Wild 3, Skyward Sword 2, Ocarina of Time 7, whatever it is, I do think at some point this year, Nintendo is going to announce the next big 3D Zelda. However, it is not releasing this year. Because Nintendo likes to announce their Zelda releases like 2 or 3 years before the game actually releases. So I think we're going to get a Zelda announcement this year. But I do not think the game is actually coming out until like 2029. But they're going to announce it this year, either in June or September. Probably closer to September. Actually, probably closer to June. If the game's coming out into September, they'll probably announce it in June. But yeah, that's a prediction I will make right now, is that by the end of the year, we will know what the next big 3D Zelda is. It's just not going to come out for a while. Alright, next up, Nintendo Direct, Rhythm Heaven Groove. We have not heard anything about Rhythm Heaven Groove since, what, like April of last year? I do not think this is going to be a major game. Like, it will probably get a physical release. Maybe if we're lucky, it'll only be like $40. Knowing Nintendo, it'll probably be $60. I am interested in it. I made a promise many years ago that I was going to buy it. So I will be buying it, even though, you know, I lost my sense of rhythm when I fell asleep in a trombone factory. But I'll figure it out. I will figure it out. Prediction, June or July. Sometime in there, just put it out. Usually, I want to say July is one of the weaker months when it comes to games. So just putting it out in the middle of July, you know, I don't think it's going to be eShop only. I don't think they're going to do that to the game. But I could see it coming out sometime around then. I guess it could also be May. But my guess for May is the new Yoshi game. I think Yoshi and the Mysterious Book makes sense to be coming out in May. You know, get it right off the back of the Mario movie, but not like... Because right now, the big game for the Mario movie is Meet Up at Bellabelle Park, the Super Mario Wonder DLC. So I don't think they're going to also, you know, put out a game in April. They're going to wait. And I think May makes sense for Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, assuming we see more of it. Honestly, that's one of those games where if we don't see anything of it for a while, I would not be surprised. If Yoshi and the... kind of like Yoshi's Woolly World. Yoshi's Woolly World was revealed, and then we, like, didn't see anything of it for, like, a year or two, and then it just kind of got re-revealed and released all within, like, a few months. I could see that happening again. I do not... Fucking Ochi, man. I see Ochi. Ochi just keeps stealing our lines. I could see Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, you know, nothing happening with that. It's... I do not care for Yoshi and the Mysterious Book at all. Like, if they were remaking Yoshi's Woolly World, oh god, I'd be there day one. Yoshi's Woolly World is super underrated. One of the better Yoshi games. But no, seemingly we're getting this new one, and nothing, it does not look special at all. But who knows, you know? You could always be wrong. Maybe it is great. You never know. Thank you for Game Boy Color. You're actually not the first person I've heard make that joke. Next up, Splatoon Raiders. We have not heard anything about Splatoon Raiders since June. I expect it to get re-revealed. I still think it's probably like a survival crafting game. Maybe there's maybe it's a roguelite, you know, they're basically expanding on what the Side Order DLC did. But I could see Splatoon survival game. I think Splatoon survival crafting game makes sense. I would be down for Splatoon survival crafting game. I feel like that would be kind of fun. My prediction for release, June or July. You know, Splatoon... I know Splatoon 3 came out in September, but Splatoon 2 came out in July. So sometime around there, I think that makes sense. And so that's all the things that I kind of feel like we know about. So what about some other predictions? Some other stuff that I think might happen this year? It's been... I think you're underestimating. You know, so you can just filter it through a Game Boy camera. Somebody will do that. And boom, there you go. I know the Game Boy camera has horrible frame rate as well, but still. So Luigi's Mansion, I think will happen. Luigi's Mansion 3 was 2019. Luigi's Mansion 2 was like 2 or 3 years ago. It's just kind of, it's time. It's been long enough. We know next level not next level games. Who makes the Luigi's Mansion games? Whoever makes the Luigi's Mansion games have said that, you know, they're less focused on making Punch-Out because Punch-Out doesn't do as well, and they'd much rather focus on Luigi's Mansion and stuff like that. And nobody liked that Mario Strikers game. Nobody liked Mario Strikers Battle League or whatever it was called. So I could see Luigi's Mansion 4. I've seen a lot of fun ideas. Someone was like, oh, Luigi's Mansion on a train. I love that idea. I would love Luigi's Mansion on a train. The other one I've seen is Daisy's Cruise Ship. Luigi's Mansion on Daisy's Cruise Ship also sounds like a lot of fun. Get Daisy in Luigi's Mansion. You know, she's made it to mainline Mario. Let her be in everything. Give me multiplayer that isn't fucking Luigi and Gooigi. Listen, I like Gooigi as much as the next guy. But give me something, man. And I think Daisy as like someone to play off Luigi could be a lot of fun. Put her in Luigi's Mansion. I saw someone had the idea of like making her like a ghost, kind of like Zelda Spirit Tracks. I'd be down for that. Just something. But yeah, Daisy Cruise Ship, great idea. Great idea. Anything else for Luigi's Mansion? I do think it's this year, though. I could also, I guess, see that coming out in October instead. Maybe we don't get a 3D Mario at all. Maybe that's our big October thing. Yeah, it's possible. But, yeah, I love Luigi's Mansion. I do not care for the second one. I really do not care for the second one. But I like 1. I like 3. I think they learned all the lessons from 2 to make 3 good. And with just a few more changes, I think they might be able to potentially make something better than the first one. I don't know. There's a part of me that likes 3 more than the first one. I'll fully admit that. When I was younger, I liked Dark Moon. Playing it again on Switch, that game is so flawed. I didn't mind the mission mode as a kid. Playing it as an adult, the mission design fucking sucks. If they fix the mission stuff, I think that would make the game good. But the mission stuff is just so hard to work around. It absolutely ruins the pace of the game. Like, the content is great. I love the multiple mansions. I love some of their designs and their theming. I think there are genuinely some great things in Dark Moon. But the mission mode just absolutely kills that game. Dark Moon has worse tutorials than most Pokemon games. I think Dark Moon has some of the worst tutorials in a Nintendo game. Wow, you're so offended by my Dark Moon thoughts. It is actually getting late. I mean, it's past midnight. For you, anyways. And I'm probably going for like another 40 minutes. But yeah, Luigi's Mansion I think makes sense. If we don't get a Luigi's Mansion, I watched Arlo's prediction video today, because he put out one. And he said Captain Toad. Specifically Captain Toad's Treasure Brigade. I like that idea as well. 4-player Captain Toad. I love the original Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker. I think it is super underrated. I was actually considering on replaying it this year. But then I saw that it only has one save file. At least I think it only has one save file. Yeah, Captain Toad only seemingly has one save file. And I kind of don't want to reset my save. That's the only reason I haven't replayed it this year, because like we did Bowser's Fury. After we beat Pikmin here, we're gonna do 3D World, and then after that I was like, oh, maybe I'll do Captain Toad. And no, but a new Captain Toad sounds fantastic. I love that little puzzle box game, man. Super underrated. Hidden gem of the Wii U, hidden gem of the Nintendo Switch. More people need to play it, and a sequel would be fantastic. Mario Kart World DLC, I think it's gonna happen. Nintendo would be fucking stupid not to make Mario Kart World DLC. But they didn't make that much Animal Crossing DLC, so sometimes Nintendo is just fucking stupid. Yes, I know they didn't know Animal Crossing was gonna be the biggest game of 2020. They didn't know. But regardless, they missed out on that one, and I hope they're not missing out on, because I could see Nintendo being like, no, we actually consider Mario Kart like a perfect game, and we're not going to do anything with it. And like, if they do DLC, they're probably going to charge like $40 or whatever, and I believe that. I totally do believe that. But I like Mario Kart. I want more tracks. You know, new cups. And then I know earlier, right, Andy Anonymous said custom, like Mario Kart Maker. I think it would make perfect sense if they allowed you to make, just in a free update, not as part of the DLC, but as like a free update. Let me make my own knockout tours. You choose what track you start from, and you choose what track you end on. And it just, you can go through and make your own knockout tours. Let me make my own courses. I pick a starting point. I then drive around, make my course, and then I pick it in. And then when I go back to the start, that ends the course. Kind of like Mario Kart Home Circuit. I think that would make perfect sense. That would be some great DLC. I think they do it. I would do it for free. I would not have people pay for that. But it's Nintendo, so you never know. Actually, I think we'd be fine. That seems like the type of thing Nintendo would give away for free. But yeah, other than that, I know most people in Mario Kart World suggestions are just like adding new islands. I think adding new islands does make sense. That is the logical progression to things. I wouldn't be against new islands. There's a part of me that thinks they could just straight up expand the main continent if they wanted to. Like, there are I know most of the borders end on oceans. But, like, sometimes those oceans just don't go anywheres. So if they wanted to just be like, oh yeah, you know, here's the new seam, and we're just expanding the continent, I genuinely think they could get away with that. It just depends on how much they want to do. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, DLCs, they added 4 tracks at a time. I think it would make more sense if they add in 8. So, like, if they add in, like, a new island and it has 8 new tracks. I think that would make much more sense, because then you can add in a new knockout tour or 2. Even if, like, 2 of the tracks are just connecting tracks, going from, like, the ocean to the island, like, maybe they add in, like, a Hammerhead Bridge, or they add in, you know, Sky Gardens, you know, just something that gets you from point A to point B. There was a rumor, again, a year or 2 ago about Kirby Planet Robobot DLC. I do firmly believe that, or, you know, just Kirby Planet Robobot remake. I do believe that was a thing. That, again, it's one of those things that Nintendo made and then is just sitting on. And, yeah, you know, I don't think it's Kirby's anniversary. It might be, actually. But it would make sense. I think it would make sense if just, you know, Kirby Planet Robobot. I would love if they did Robobot in Triple Deluxe. Those are both great games that deserve their accolades, and putting them both on Switch would be fantastic. I mean, we saw the Snowmans from Triple Deluxe reappear in the Star-Crossed Worlds DLC, or whatever it was called. So, that would make sense. I could totally see that being a possibility. But, you know, we'll just kind of have to wait and see. Next up, I also could see Kirby Planet Robobot being both a Switch and a Switch 2 game, and that potentially this is the last Switch game. Because we know Rhythm Heaven Groove is coming to Switch, but I see one more Switch game. I think the last Switch games come out this year, and there are no Switch games in 2029. Or potentially, I mean, I could see Kirby Planet Robobot coming out in 2027, like January, and that is the last Switch game. That after that, Nintendo is only supporting Switch 2. I believe that. Of course, as always, I make the prediction. I would love to see Golden Sun. I would love to see Star Fox. I would love to see F-Zero. I doubt any of them will come back. But hey, I think it makes... You know, Nintendo has burned through most of their franchises on the Switch. I would love to see Golden Sun get a remaster. You know, we got Advanced Wars. It's time Golden Sun gets some love. Golden Sun deserves some love. It's been many years since the last Golden Sun game. So much so that people don't even know about Golden Sun. You know, they only know about Isaac from Smash Bros. It's time we get a Golden Sun. I don't need a new one. A remake is perfectly acceptable to me. I do think we're going to get some Nintendo Switch 2 editions. There was, of course, the rumor Splatoon 3 Nintendo Switch 2 edition. Even though we just got the 11.0 update, I could see them being like, hey, we're getting Nintendo Switch 2 edition. It's adding mouse controls, and it comes out in, like, May. I could see that being a thing. That, you know, it's not immediate, but it comes out sooner or later. And then the other one is Pikmin, either Pikmin 4 or Pikmin 3, or potentially both. I'd like both. And I don't need them to be big updates, just add mouse controls. That's it. You know, maybe give me 60 FPS, but mouse controls is the big one. Yeah, that's kind of it with those. Here's the thing. I do not think every Nintendo Switch game needs a Switch 2 edition. Like, there are a few that make sense. Splatoon, Pikmin, Mario Wonder made sense. But, like, not everything needs a Switch 2 edition. Metroid, I see a lot of people say Metroid Dread should get a Switch 2 edition. I don't think Metroid Dread needs a Switch 2 edition. I would much rather just see Metroid 6. You know, Dread was 5. Give me Metroid 6. I'd much rather have the developers working on that than just doing, you know, Dread Switch 2. Like, what else could they add? Like, honestly, what else could they add to Metroid Dread? Like, they already added one-hit death mode. That's good enough for me. Oh, but the frame rate, you can do that in, like, a free update. I don't think you need, like, a big paid edition. I don't need any DLC for Metroid Dread. Like, I am perfectly happy with the content there. Metroid Prime 4 getting some free stuff, like, getting another update that adds in some free stuff, that'd be cool. I'd be down for that. But Metroid Dread, no, I'm good. And I feel like that about most Switch games. I don't need, you know, Mario and Luigi Brothership to get a Switch 2 upgrade. I don't need... I don't know, there's so many other things. There are so many other things that just don't need Switch 2 updates. I feel like this is gonna, like, we're getting Switch 2 upgrades for the first, like, year or two. And that's it. Like, eventually they're just gonna stop completely, and that's the right thing. Third parties can do whatever they want. You know, third party and indie games, they can do whatever they want. But for Nintendo themselves, nah, I kind of feel like you've got the first year. So you've got up until June. And then after that, I'm good. I don't want a Wii U Switch situation where, like, oh, we're still getting Wii U ports as of, what, like last year? No, we can move on, people. Xenoblade does make sense as well to get a port or a Switch 2 upgrade. I know Arlo's video predicted Xenoblade Chronicles 4. I could see that being announced. Probably not at this Direct, but maybe like the next one. I could see Xenoblade Chronicles 4. I believe that. So that's my predictions if this was a Nintendo Direct. The rumor is that this is a partner Direct. So what do I expect from a partner Direct? Well, some obvious ones. Clair Obscura Expedition 33. Don't know when it's coming out. It'll happen at some point. You know, hopefully that'll have less controversy. Hopefully they don't censor that one. Metaphor Refantasio. You know, we've gotten the Persona games. It's only a matter of time until we get Metaphor. I'm kind of surprised we don't already have it. But to be fair, I think Persona 3 Reloaded was Switch 2 only. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Remake literally just came out. So announcing Rebirth makes sense. More Yakuza games, specifically Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, and the first one. Those would be great. I never played Infinite Wealth, but I played the first one. The first one is a heck of a lot of fun. If you've never played it, I highly recommend it. Yes, it is an RPG, and it is a very weird RPG. But it is a very charming RPG. Red Dead Redemption 2, there have been rumors and ESRB leaks for Red Dead Redemption 2 on Switch. You know, is the whole dispatch censorship thing, is that the reason we never got GTA 5 on Switch? Because, especially, again, with Cyberpunk, I see no reason why we couldn't get GTA 5 on Switch. I could totally see Rockstar, because GTA 6 isn't coming to Switch, we all know this. But I could see Rockstar putting GTA 5 and Red Dead 2 on Switch. I could totally see that. That, you know, while everyone else is playing GTA 6, Switch players are stuck playing GTA 5. I could totally believe that. Resident Evil remakes, you know, we've got a bunch of Resident Evil remakes. Something coming somewheres makes sense. You know, it's about time. Hopefully they'll be, like, on, you know, cartridge versions and not just, you know, fucking more Switch 2 editions. Or, you know, more, like, game key card, digital, like, oh yeah, you know, cloud edition was what I was looking for. Especially because we're getting Requiem, and we have 7 and 8 on Switch. Doom of the Dark Ages. So, my guess, you know what I really want if we're getting a partner direct? Give me more Xbox games. Xbox has said that they're making more commitments to putting games on PlayStation. Give me commitments to putting games on Nintendo as well. I want... What is it I want? I want Indiana Jones. I want Starfield. I deserve it. I'm one of 2 people who liked Starfield. Give me Starfield on the go. Also, you know, get like the big 2.0 update. Like, I'm waiting, Bethesda. There's a good game in there. One good update fixes everything. Potentially. But yeah, I want more Bethesda games. I want more Microsoft games. We know South of Midnight is coming. At least I'm pretty sure they announced South of Midnight's coming. So yeah, give me South of Midnight. Why not? I think that makes sense. Give me South of Midnight. Give me Kiln. You know, they just announced that new Kiln game, and it looks like it would be perfect on Switch. Give me Kiln. I would love that. Dune, of course, you know, the other 2, Doom Eternal and the other one are both great on Switch. So Doom the Dark Ages would make sense. I'm sure there are plenty of other Xbox games that could totally run on Switch 2 and run with no issues. I'm pretty sure Halo Combat Evolved is coming to PS4, or PS5, I mean. If Halo Combat Evolved's coming to PS5, bring it over to Switch. Bring it over to Switch as well. Sure, it won't look as good, but I'm fine with that. That's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. Ah, fuck. I played this completely. Like, we're gonna win regardless, but I played this cave wrong. I remember this dungeon. I played this so wrong. So yeah, those are just... give me more Xbox stuff. Those are all my predictions. I do think since we've seen so much, I do think it is more than likely that we are going to be getting a partner showcase. I do think that is very highly likely, just because Nintendo's been giving us so much stuff, and any of the stuff Nintendo has not been giving us, they're just going to save that for a future day. You know, maybe April Directs become the new norm. And instead, in January and February, we just get Twitter Directs. I could believe that. I could see that being Nintendo's new holding pattern. I'd rather have it in March. I feel like March to June and then June to September is more reasonably spaced out. It's just September to March fucking sucks. That's always... There should be a Nintendo Direct every 3 months. Even if there's not big information, like every 3 months. That's what I want. But instead you got that massive gap in there. Anything else? Oh yeah, Elden Ring, obviously. That game, according to people who've played like at like events, that game does not run well on Switch 2. Not that the Switch 2 can't run Elden Ring. It can. It's just the people who ported it did a fucking awful job. That's kind of what it sounds like from what I've heard. But Elden Ring, of course, Duskbloods, obviously. But I'll take anything else as well. Not that I'm playing any of it, but I'll take it. All right, let's talk WIBE, shall we? So I got no food stuff. I got no TV stuff because I have not been watching Fallout. I've heard this season of Fallout is kind of mixed. That their refusal to commit to an ending has created all sorts of problems with the Fallout show. But I've still heard, like, the Lucy and the Ghoul stuff is good. It's just kind of the other stuff that kind of sucks. And I get that. I do. But I have not been watching Fallout. I started 2 animes. What were their names? Fuck me if I could tell you. One of them, I got like 6 episodes in, and I don't actually think it's that good. Like, it started off okay, and then it was like, oh, okay, this was not what I was expecting. And it got better for like a second, and then it just became every other generic show for the rest of the for like the next like 3 episodes, and that's where I stopped. And then the other one I only just started, so I'm like 1 episode in. So the first one was called... The first one was My Gift Level 9999 Unlimited Gotcha. Backstabbed in a backwater dungeon. I'm out for revenge. Fucking mouthful of a title. It's not an isekai. It's a revenge fantasy. And the first episode, it was like, oh, okay, you know, we get to see the kid backstabbed. And then he, like, uses his gotcha skill. And he pulls a super rare card. And now he's out for revenge. And I was like, okay, the show's going to be building him towards revenge. Nope. Second episode jump cuts 3 years later. And it's like, oh, okay. And then the third episode, it's like revenge. Like, we actually get to see him get some revenge. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then episodes 4, 5, and 6, nothing fucking happened. He just became a generic adventurer. And it's like, oh, wow, you started off, you know, you got a little worse. But you were introducing side characters. Whatever, I'll cut you some slack. You got better, and then you just got bad again. So I kind of stopped right there, and I haven't watched it since. And then the other one I checked out was... I may be a guild receptionist, but I solo any boss to clock out on time. It's, you know, again, fantasy, not isekai. Girl, she has this really strong power that lets her kill any boss. But she doesn't want to be an adventurer. Because, you know, it takes a lot of work to be an adventurer. Instead, she just wants to work as a guild receptionist. You know, she gets benefits, she gets good pay, easy life, easy job. But yet all these, like, powerful boss monsters are, like, making her life hell. So she has to go in and, you know, deal with them. It started off okay. Like, I just watched the first episode, and I literally just watched it today. It was okay, but I'm not, like, in love with it or anything. So I'll keep watching it. Maybe it'll get better. Maybe it'll hook me more. But, you know, I just started it. I like it more than the other show. I'll tell you that. Alright, so let's get into it. So the first thing I did was Splatoon. I checked out the new Splatoon 11.0 update. So the big change with this update is a new feature they're calling Flow Aura. You know, Flow State might also be a name. You know, I was listening to the Prochara and his team, Moonlight, talk about the update. And they were talking about how, like, you know, people want to call it Flow, but they're probably going to call it Aura. And that's kind of how I felt talking about it, because I was talking about it with someone. And I was like, oh yeah, this is, you know, you're getting flow. And it's like, no, you're getting aura. You're aura farming. Like, that's clearly what the, you know, I don't know if that's what the developers intended, but that's what it feels like anyways. So that's like the big new feature. They also, you know, they made some other changes. They nerfed stealth jump. They buffed dynamo. But yeah, I tried it out. I've played maybe like a dozen matches. Not that much, admittedly, but I've played a little bit. And so the big thing with Flow Aura is that when you go into a match, you know, you build it up over time. And then if you get like a bunch of kills, I think it's only triggered by kills. So far, I have not seen a moment where it's like, oh, this is triggered by like painting. No, it only seems to be triggered by a kill. But it looks like you can, like, steal it from somebody else. If somebody has it and you kill them, you get to, like, steal their flow, or at least yours, it's, like, together really quick. And I've had it. I've used it. It's kind of like it's a light buff, but it is still a buff nevertheless. Prochara, listening to him talk about it, he explained that it's supposed to be like a wipeout. Like, when you get a wipeout against the enemy team, it feels exhilarating, right? Like, it turns the tide of battle, potentially. And Flow Aura is supposed to be, like, a light version of that. Like, it's something you get where it's like, oh yeah, this is going to help out the team. This could turn the tide of battle. And I've, in some cases, seen that. Specifically from the enemy's team. I've seen the enemy get Flow Aura and then just wipe us out. And that was it. You know, we could not come back. It was splat zone, so we could not take back the zone, and we just lost. I myself, when I've gotten it, you know, I've done okay, but I really haven't. The one thing, I have not played Splatoon, and, well, okay, Splatfest aside, I have not actually played this game, and I have not done a ranked mode in probably a year. It has been a long time since I've touched this game, and I am so fucking rusty. Like I said, I played a dozen games. I lost the first, like, 9 or 10, and I only won, like, 2 of them. I really struggled playing Splatoon again. Specifically on Ranked. I had a little bit more luck in Turf War, because I did eventually switch over to Turf. But yeah, I played Ranked Tower Control, and I played Ranked Splat Zones. I lost every match. I lost every fucking match. Even, like, the bucket. You know, I used Tri-Slosher. I got my ass kicked with Tri-Slosher. It went terribly. So yeah, maybe I'm just rusty. Maybe it's just, you know, the new modes. Because I've heard, like, potentially, this has the potential, if this Flow Aura is as important as it seems it could be. This could be Splatoon 3.5. Like, this might fundamentally change how the game works. I know some people hate that idea, especially, you know, 4 years after release, but I think it's interesting. The little I have played of Splatoon 3, even though I've lost most of my games, I am still having a fantastic time. I'm kind of falling in love with the game again. Maybe it's just because I always thought it was a good game, and this is just giving, kind of like, you know, your 2-week Minecraft phase, where, you know, whenever a new update comes out, it just gives you an excuse to boot up the game. Maybe this is just me getting an excuse to boot up the game again, but I'm having a great time despite I'm getting my ass kicked. So yeah, Flow Aura was like the big change. There are other changes. The other big one is, okay, health bars. Characters now have health bars. I know some people were worried that this was going to be intrusive. It's not. They're very minor. It very much feels like an accessibility thing. But it does kind of suck whenever you go to kill somebody and you get them at like 96% health and they don't die. That fucking, and you can't get the second hit off, so you just die. That fucking sucks. I hate when that happens. But for the most part, I like the new health bar thing. It is not that intrusive. It did not bother me. I got used to it almost immediately. So I don't think the health bar thing is an issue. When it comes to buffs, the big change they made is they buffed Dynamo. I've seen the argument of, is Dynamo OP? I don't think it's OP. I don't think Dynamo is as good in this game as it was in Splatoon 1. I was a Splatoon 1 Dynamo main. Like, that was my weapon. I do not think it is as good as it is in Splatoon 1. But this is the best Dynamo has felt since Splatoon 1. Right? This new Dynamo buff is better than anything that Dynamo had in Splatoon 2. It's good. This is a good buff. Playing around with this weapon, I had some great moments. Specifically Humpback Pump Track. I got some crazy kills. The reach is now basically, you know, with your flicking it, you've got like 2.5. 2.5 is pretty good. That's some good range for a Dynamo, which again, 2.5 for a one-shot kill. So yeah, I've gotten some crazy kills. I've gotten Flora on Dynamo. I got it on Bucket once. I got it on Dynamo like 3 times. All of, like, you know, all the games I won, the only games I actually won with, of the like dozen I've played, were with Dynamo. it felt great. I think Dynamo is fantastic. I'm having fun with it. Is it OP? You know, is this the new competitive meta? Probably not. But I'm having fun with the weapon, man. It feels great. It just feels great to be playing Splatoon again. I'm kind of disappointed we're not getting... I know Raiders is going to be cool. It's going to be fun. But I'm kind of disappointed we're not getting Splatoon 4 this year. Like, Splatoon 4 with some, like, huge map-making updates, you know, where they completely changed the map-making philosophy, would go so hard right now. But no, instead we're stuck with Splatoon 3. But hey, I'm having a good time. I'm having a good time. I don't know how... Again, this might just be a 2-week Minecraft phase. This isn't gonna last. But for the moment, it's working, and it's working well. So yeah, that's my thought on the update. It's not nearly... I know some people are worried that, like, oh, well, they're clearly, you know, giving to competitive players. Like, this is a competitive player update. It's ruining casual play. From the little I played, that has not been an issue. That has not been an issue. I have not had to worry about it. Alright, let's talk about Iron Lung. So this is Markiplier's movie. Markiplier, he wrote it, he directed it, he stars in it. I admittedly did not remember he stars in it, because I saw the initial trailer when it was, revealed. And that's it. I never watched any of the other trailers. I didn't watch any of the press material. I picked, when my local theater announced they were showing it, I bought a ticket, and that was it. I didn't think about it again until I saw it yesterday. And my thought overall, it is a video game movie. It is a video game movie. It can be a good video game movie, but it is still a video game movie. And as a result, it has all the trappings that most other video game movies have. So it is good in places. I will say I was thoroughly entertained throughout the whole movie. I was not bored. The thing is 2 hours. It kept my attention the whole 2 hours. But it is still a video game movie. It has a lot of those writing problems that video games have. It kind of does feel like someone just... I know Markiplier's a Let's Player. But sometimes the movie does kind of feel like, oh, this is a person learning the video game mechanics. Which is also, I think of FNAF 2. I will say, this movie is better than both the FNAF movies. Those are also definitely video game movies. Those are worse movies. I will say, I do not think this movie is scary. This was kind of marketed as like a horror movie. I was not scared. Admittedly, part of that... And another kind of problem I have with this movie is that, it's Markiplier. He is the protagonist. So when I see, Markiplier on screen, I'm not like, oh, I'm thinking about the world, the building. You know that thing where, people complain about, certain actors, that it just kind of takes them out of the movie because they know, oh, that's just an actor. That's kind of how I felt about Markiplier in this sometimes. Sometimes he does great. There are some scenes where, he's by himself in this movie. This is basically a bottle episode movie. It takes place in one set. They spend the entire movie there with 2 or 3 exceptions that are dream sequences. This is a bottle episode of a movie. And that's kind of hard to do. It's hard for an actor to just act off of themselves. Markiplier does a pretty decent job. All things considered. But yeah, I did not find this movie scary at all. Because every time I was like, oh, wow, something scary's happening. But hey, it's going to be okay. My buddy Markiplier's there. It's the same thing as if I was watching a FNAF Let's Play. I'm not scared. Markiplier's there. He's making the goofy goof jokes, even though he doesn't. I mean, there's 1 or 2 jokes in this, but it's not actually a joke movie. I would say it's less horror and more like psychological. Like there are extended sequences where you don't know if what's happening is actually real or if it's all in his head. And then once you think you find out, no, you actually might not have found out what happened. There's a lot of blood in this movie. If you can't do blood, I don't think this set like the record for the most fake blood in a movie. But if you told me, yeah, this is the most fake blood of any movie, I'd probably believe you. There's a lot of fake... Oh, God, especially the ending. Without getting into any spoilers. I know they're in an ocean of blood. There's a lot of blood. It goes crazy at the end. So, another thing is a good video game movie, you will not have to have seen the video or played the video game to watch a video game movie. It is very important that a video game movie does not require you to play the video game. And for the most part, I think this movie does an okay job. There are definitely some moments where I have a lot of questions that, to be fair, they might also be questions in the video game. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, listening to the theater was packed, by the way. Everybody, it was almost a full theater. And listening to some of the people who are, bigger Markiplier fans, who, have played the game, they didn't really answer my questions, but they were definitely more like, yeah, the video game kind of does some of this. Maybe it makes more sense, but I feel like it did an okay job. It mostly helps that since you're focused on Markiplier's character Simon, this is really about like his journey, his chance at redemption, for lack of a better word. Because the plot is that in the, sci-fi future, there was this event called the Quiet Rapture, in which everybody... I don't know if they died, it's more that they just disappeared. They were raptured. All the stars are dying. And so humanity's looking for answers. They're looking for light. And they think they found it on this moon, which is covered in an ocean of blood. So Markiplier, who is a prisoner, is strapped into the submarine, the titular Iron Lung. And he's just looking for answers. He's exploring this ocean. Of course, there are creatures down in the ocean. And he's got this, camera. And he can take pictures, and he starts seeing, skeletons and whatnot. And the first time... Okay, so he takes this picture of a skeleton. And he tells, the captain. And the captain's, freaking out, and is like, oh, we gotta see this picture. And then you find out shortly after that it's an X-ray camera. And I was like, oh, shit. That wasn't a skeleton. That was a living creature. They do not figure that out in the movie. Nobody realizes that, oh, wait, that thing was probably alive. He just took, it's an X-ray. He just took a picture of its skeleton. Nobody realizes that in the movie. So that kind of drove me a little crazy. Because they, go back to the spot where he found the skeleton, and it's not there anymore. And I was waiting, okay, realize it's alive. He doesn't. He doesn't. But for the most part, I understood Markiplier's whole thing. I get that he was looking for redemption after this horrible thing happened. It's not exactly spelled out. It's a little vague. And sometimes I kind of, especially with everything going on, I feel like sometimes that works against the movie, where it's so vague that okay, I know something bad happened, but maybe a little bit more detail would be nice. The movie is slow. It's atmospheric. Again, they're in one room the whole time. So yes, it is a bit of a slower movie. I will fully give it that. Sometimes that does work for the movie's detriment. Sometimes it's fine though. And yeah, overall, I'd say I had a good time. I enjoyed myself. Is the movie great or anything? No. I want to say if you look up its Metacritic, it's probably currently sitting in the 90s. It is not a 90s movie. I get, people love Markiplier. For a directorial debut, he did a great job. But as an actual movie, this is also very clearly like a directorial debut. This is his first movie. I feel like he'll get better with time, but this has issues. It has issues. It is still very much a video game movie. It's an interesting, entertaining movie, but it's not... It's got problems. I'd probably give it like a... fuck. I'm between like a 6 or a 7. 6, 7. Fuck me. It's somewheres around there. There's a part of me that wants to say like, oh, give it a 7. You know, at least you were entertained. Like the FNAF movie, you're watching it and you're like, oh god, this is so fucking stupid. At least Markiplier, you know, kept you entertained. This is not the worst thing you could see in theaters right now. Fucking Return to Silent Hill is worse than this. That new Chris Pratt movie, Mercy, fucking awful. The Melania Trump documentary. There are movies worse than this out in theaters right now. That new Sam Raimi movie I hear is really good though, so like that may also be one to consider. But overall, I'm gonna be generous and give it like a 7. I don't think it's much better than that. I feel, yeah, that is being generous. I'm a little biased, but it's an indie movie. It's his first project. You know, he launched this movie in 4,000 theaters. I read when he originally announced it, it was like, oh yeah, you know, we're showing it at like a dozen theaters. And then, you know, he said like, hey, if you want to see it at your theater, just make the call. And yeah, people called. That was my local theater. You know, somebody called and were like, hey, are you guys going to show the movie? And they're like, oh yeah, we'll look into it. And within like 2 days, they had it on their roster and I had bought tickets for it. So yeah, you know, for an independent film, it's already made a profit, right? It's already made, I want to say I read a report that it made like $10 million and has already grossed a profit. And that's, again, opening day, pre-orders. So he is successful. There are much worse things you can see in theaters right now. I'm not a horror guy, but hey, you don't gotta worry, your buddy Markiplier's there. And so if you're not a horror guy like me, like if you can't deal with that, then you might have an okay time with this. But just remember, there's a lot of blood. Oh my gosh, is there a lot of blood. I didn't find it scary, but it's a lot. So that's my take. Alright, let's talk about Watchmen. So, I've been reading a lot of superhero books recently. You know, we read So Not a Hero and its sequel. I read both the Superworld books. In the background of all of that, I've been reading Watchmen. I've read Watchmen before. I read it probably for the first time in like, I'm going to say 2016. It probably was earlier than that, but I'm just going to be generous and say 2016. I read Watchmen. I've read it like 2 other times. This is probably my 4th time reading it. Because I read it when the HBO show came out. I read it at some other point as well. So I've read it a few times. My big difference with this reading is that this time I'm reading the annotated version. So this is a version that, you know, off to the side has little notes that explain like certain scenes, how certain things connect, pop culture references, like all the music and whatnot. And so that's been a different experience, because I definitely feel like I have a greater understanding of the book than I ever have before. Having read the annotated version, I feel like I get Watchmen in a way I never have. Again, it's my 4th viewing. You see a little bit more every time. But yeah, I'm reading the annotated version. It's slow. Like, I want to say the first time I read it, you know, it took me maybe 20, 30 minutes per issue. I probably read it in like 4 to 5 hours. Probably over like a day or 2. I started reading this one January 5th. I want to say the first issue took me an hour. And they only get longer from there. It took, like, this was like a project. Reading the annotated Watchmen was a full project that took me so much time. There was so much work to do on this. So many other things to read. You know, I had to look up some of those pop culture references because I was curious. And yeah, I had a great time reading Watchmen. It's described. I've heard Watchmen is like on like the New York Times most important books of all time. It's on there, and it's like high, like it's like top 20s. Yeah, reading it again, looking at our current political climate, you know, impeach Trump, abolish ICE, get the Democrats to do fucking anything. Reading Watchmen, I know it's not as relevant as V for Vendetta. I know V for Vendetta is about fighting against a fascist government. I've never read V for Vendetta. I will fully admit that. But reading Watchmen, I definitely get some of that. And it's been great. It has been great reading it. And there are definitely things where I see this and I'm like, oh, next time it's going to be even better. Specifically all the Tales of the Black Freighter stuff. I'm like, yeah, next time I'm going to understand this even more. Because there are certain things in that where it's like, okay, I definitely need to, like, get this, like, a little bit. Like, some of it is, like, very obvious. Like, oh, what he's reading connects to directly what's happening in the story. But there's definitely a little element of it where it's like, okay, this is working on another level as well. And maybe next time I'll understand this a little better. But for the most part, it's great. It is great. I'm glad I took my sweet ass time with it. I'm not going to get into any real specifics other than just saying I've been rereading Watchmen. If you've never read it, oh my god, it's so worth it. And then now I want to watch the HBO show. Because, well, most of the follow-ups to Watchmen are garbage. The two exceptions from what I've heard are the HBO show, which I have seen and is very good. And then I've also heard good things about Tom King's Rorschach miniseries. And so I bought a copy. I know, fuck Tom King. He's ruining Wonder Woman at the moment. I've heard the Rorschach miniseries is good. CIA stuff included, excluded. I don't know. I'm going to give it a chance. I'm going to give Tom King's Watchmen Rorschach series a chance. Because part of what also kicked this off was Mr. Miracle. I think we talked about that last year. I read Mr. Miracle, Tom King's version. I enjoyed it. You know, for what it is, I enjoyed it. But yeah, that's Watchmen. I recommend it. I've had a great time. Squid is better than what the movie did. I like the Squid. I think it works really well. And yeah, especially on this reread, I think the Squid works better than ever. I do. I know people find it dumb. I think it works. I get it. Alright, so with that, I guess that takes us to the end of the show? Yeah, more or less. So, what's coming next? Tomorrow, Animal Crossing, sometime around like noonish. Sunday, Animal Crossing, sometime around like 9, 10-ish. Because, you know, turnips. And then we're just continuing on. Today in Animal Crossing, you know, we set it up with, like, we were doing a bingo board, but I was only checking in once a week to not, like, cheat it. We got bingo today. We got double bingo, actually. So now, you know, we're in the back half of the season. We did episode 16 today. We're doing Blackout. The next big thing is Blackout. We should potentially be able to get all of them. We got really lucky with our bingo board, man. The only hard ones, as I see it, are going to be 5th upgrade to the house, having a villager move away, and then finding a bear villager. Those 3 are going to suck, but I think we'll be fine. I'll figure it out. But I'm having a great time. I've already started thinking about the series finale. I think I know what I'm going to do. I think I know what I'm going to do. It's just a question of, can I do it? Because we're working with, we don't have that many emotes. We don't have that many reactions. That's what I meant. We don't have that much clothing. Set design, I'm also kind of worried about, but less so. We can make it all work. I do worry that I'm going to have to do some of it in the Switch 1 version. I potentially might have to do all of it in the Switch 1 version, depending on what I'm able to get. Because I want to have it done at least, 2 or 3 days before the finale. So I might have to do some of the work in the Switch 1 version. But then the villagers. Fuck. I don't know. I might take some time afterwards, but I'm going to try to get it done. I want to say the final episode is going to be... Let me see. The final episode of Animal Crossing is February 13th. Day before Valentine's Day. So, I'm going to try to get it done by then, I guess. We'll see. We'll see, but I'm having a great time. I enjoy playing Animal Crossing again. And so that'll continue. Of course, this show will continue next week. Hopefully there's a Nintendo Direct. Right now, everything and everyone is saying Tuesday, even if it's just a partner Direct. I believe that. I can believe that it's just going to be a partner Direct. So when the time comes, we'll be there. We technically kind of beat Pikmin. I mean, all we have to go do is one night mission, and then we can go rescue Olimar. We'll do it next time at some point. And then it's, post-game stuff. Even though I really like the base game is the post-game, I just kind of wish there was a special ending. Maybe that's a change they should fix in the Switch 2 version. Add an ending for 100% completion. That's special. That, specifically for 100%. That'd be nice. But this is where we're going to end off, so I hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Till next time, peace.